Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
It's gonna be one of those kind of shows, guys. Getting text messages from a buddy of mine. Buzz has got to be on the hot seat. No, he's not on the hot seat, guys. Let's slow down. There's no athletic director, right? And, you know, he was just the coach of the year, SEC coach of the year a year ago. But if there's one thing that frustrates me is doing something over and over that you're not good at. And shooting 16 threes, were they
17.
17, excuse me. 2 of 17?
2 of 17.
By the way, that's not a bad number. Like, well, it's a terrible percentage, but it's not a bad number of attempts in today's basketball. But OB, if I played baseball and I was terrible at laying down a bunt, would they allow me to lay down a bunt?
They'd probably say, I was just hit away.
Yeah. If you can't sing, at the church choir, they may allow it.
Well, they say joyful noises.
But they will probably put you somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
A&M is not a good
I got kicked out of the church choir.
But that's for probably something else.
No, it was because I couldn't sing.
They said to you.
Yeah, the guy even said, the guy who was the choir director even offered me the position to turn the page for the piano player. I said, I think I'll just set out.
He can do that. He's got one hand he can play with. OB, we're not going to entertain tournament talk anymore, right? Not saying it's not worth that discussion at this point. A 5-game losing streak at the end of the season. 3 games left. Like, they're playing their worst basketball at the most inopportune time after maybe their second or best victory of the year or the last couple years, right? Since that point, since, overrated chant started, this team, about Tennessee, by the way, and that's not the why. This team, people have figured them out, and it's not that hard to figure it out when it's basically a lot of ISO basketball and, they're not physical enough, fast enough, strong enough to score in the half-court set.
Oh, that's true. And I watched South Carolina, and they're not like a bunch of, crazy tall guys down in the low post, but they're moving the basketball all around the offense and just finding backdoor cuts. And they had 17 layups last night, 38 points in play. They had 22 assists. And A&M, they too often settle for 3-point shot, which I understand you have to shoot some.
Yeah.
And they made a couple, but you have to.
They missed every one in the first half.
But, yeah, at some point when you're over, when you're approaching 0 for 10, maybe you think, okay, let's try something different. And as a matter of fact, I asked Buzz Williams after the game, I said, was there any part in the game? Because they went on a 17-1 run. It
was great.
And 14 of those were just attack the basket, get fouled, get layups. And then when they hit a 3, they took a 3-point lead. When they finally hit one, it was at that time they were 1-13. But and I asked him, I said, did you ever discourage your guys about shooting the threes and encourage them to instead start attacking the basket? Because it looked like that's what they did in that stretch. And among other things, he said, well, I didn't think, to be honest with you, that we took many, if any, bad 3-point shots. I'm like, it's really kind of not the point. It's not that their shots aren't there. It's just that your team's not able to make them. And one of the reasons I think those 3-point shots are there is because your opposing coach understands that you're not likely to make them.
If
so
they beat
I'm
us
gonna
with the
give you
3-point
that.
line, great.
If they can do it.
Right.
But I don't think they can. That's what the opposing coaches say.
I don't think they can either. Look, this team, 2 out of the last 3 years.
And you know what? I'm sorry, but all that, the misfiring and everything, they lost by 2.
Yeah.
So if you take, half of those threes and turn them into drive to the basket, maybe you get fouled once or twice, and you may. All right, back to where you're.
Well, my point on that, by the way, I think I've told you before. Bad teams lose close games. And I'm not saying they're a bad team. Obviously, what are they, 15 and 13? Is that?
Yeah, but that's not good.
But,
right?
yeah, they're a bad conference team this year.
They are.
And bad teams lose close games. Do we need to go to the parallels of the A&M football team? How many times did they could have won on the last possession? Okay, but they didn't because they were bad. They were a bad team. I'm not saying this is a bad team, but they're not good at winning right now.
Well, they're very limited, and again, other opposing coaches understand what they can and can't do, and they're going to try to take what they can do away from them. Last night was the 3rd game that they've lost, in the last 3 seconds, and when they played Houston with 7 seconds to go, they were at the free throw line with a chance to tie the game and missed them both. So when at crunch time, they've faded.
They have. It's I've said this for a while, and this is not, you don't have to be a coach to recognize this, but I've been saying for a while, this team's best offensive chance is to go downhill early in the shot clock before the defense gets set. When they allow them to get set, especially a physical team like South Carolina, you really can't. Boots can go to the basket on almost anybody. Wade is not strong enough to drive on some of those dudes, right? You have to go downhill early in the shot clock and then get your defense set up. They don't do that enough. They did it at stretches. During the 17-2 run, they did that. They got to the line, and one of the things that I didn't think it was true, but it makes me wonder. Damian Fishback on the call yesterday mentioned he thinks sometimes A&M relies on going to the free throw line too much as a form of offense. But if that's the only way you can score, you got to do it.
Well, that's true. And they were 22 of 25.
They're really good free throw shooting night.
Really good free throw shooting night. And that's kind of what they did in the past 2 years when they were successful and they got hot. What they didn't do is, they had a chance to get some defensive rebounds there at the end and didn't get them. They're not as good defensively as they've been, but they just don't move the ball.
A third.
You would think if you're not a good shooting team, you come up with an offense where there's a lot of movement and you're trying to get a guy break open for layups. But
this is basically a losing streak, a third of the season, of the conference season, basically 5 straight games. In all these games, unfortunately, Wade Taylor has not been Wade Taylor.
Well, I think he's 0 for 7 3 last night, and he's really struggled from 3-point range. But I think he's feeling. I think the pressure of having to carry this team is taking a toll on him.
Yeah.
What else could it be? I mean, we know he's capable of doing great things, but when you have to do it, it's almost like remember those pitchers that pitch for a team that can't hit, and so it feels like every pitch has got to be really good because I can't give up a run, and eventually, that takes a toll on him. And I think that toll is being taken on Wade.
Earlier, I think I started saying 2 out of the last 3 years, and you could potentially say all year, but last 3 years, but they rely on hero ball to win offensively. One guy or 2 guys to just play, ISO ball, attack the rim. Hugh Jackson was incredible at it. Wade was incredible at it last year. Wade was incredible at it this year, and to a point, right? But coaches adapt, and they see, okay, this team can't shoot threes like they did last year. An occasional Dexter Dennis 3 makes all the difference in the world. They don't have that this year. Jace Carter's been okay, but they haven't been there.
Yeah. You know who played? You know who had a good game last night was Manny Obaski.
And they took him out.
Yeah, he played. He had 11 points. Played. I don't have his minutes in front of me, but he came in and he played a good ball game.
He played a really nice game, and that's been my point. Like, you got to try something
played 15
different.
minutes.
Yeah, 11 points, 3 of 4 shooting, 2 rebounds, 2 assists.
And he was really big in that 17.
Yes, he was.
Stretch. Yeah, played really well.
Little surprised that Hayden Hefner started the game.
Yeah,
A little surprised by that, and Solo didn't. A little surprised, but look, he's trying to find an offense that works, I guess. Also, this is not good when I think it, but when I say it out loud, it's going to sound worse. They weren't good starting the game. They weren't good starting the second half. And they obviously weren't good on the last play.
all those things are true. I thought actually went into the second half feeling pretty good because again A&M was 0 for 10 on threes, and yet they played really good defense toward the end of the half, and they're only down 3. They're 0 for 10 on threes, and South Carolina shot like 52% in the first half, and only had a 3-point lead. And I'm thinking, hey, they're pretty good shape. Then South Carolina, I think, goes 9-2 to start the first. Started the second half, but A&M starts just pushing inside, and they go on that 17-1 run. And then late in the game, I think 5 minutes ago, they had taken a 59-57 lead, but couldn't protect it. Obviously,
look, there are things that I liked about yesterday's game. I liked that they attacked quicker for the most part. I love their fight and coming back, but it doesn't matter if you lose. At the end of the day,
right? There's no column for fight.
But that's what I expect my team to do, regardless of the coaches, especially a Buzz Williams team, coach team. That's what they're known for, is to scrap, to get the rebounds, to play defense 90 feet. Like, that's what I expect from them, and I applaud them for it. But unfortunately,
no question they played hard, and they gave it everything they had, and it was important to them, and I think they knew it was a game that their backs were so far against the wall that they were scratching their backs, but and they came out and played as hard as they could, but at the end of the day, as they say, it doesn't really matter if you played hard; it's still a loss.
Yeah. How do you feel about it? Have you turned the page? I think a lot of people have turned the page onto baseball season.
Well, you could tell that from the crowd, or lack thereof,
Oh, man. Let us know what you feel. 979-693-1150. You can call us. We'll talk to you. We can be therapy for you, or you can be therapy for us. You can text us as well. 979-693-1150. Those are the two ways to contact the program. Let's go around the room and say hello. It's been a minute. Nick Savage, good morning, buddy.
Actually, it's only been since like Tuesday, but,
a minute in essence is short.
Yeah. Anyways. Tough one last night. I just hate it for the guys. That's, we get a chance to kind of talk to all the players who come in and out of here doing interviews and stuff. And they're also, they care so much. They care about A&M. They want to win. It's so obvious to see. And especially after the final buzzer last night, you could see, Andy and Wade sitting on the floor. So just hate it for them. You never know. You can't never say never, but, things aren't looking too good right now. So that's just my biggest takeaway is I hate it for the players.
Yeah. I hate it for the players. I hate it for us. Coming into this season, Obi, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Coming into this year, coming into football, basketball, baseball, if you were to rank who would be the team to get the furthest, I know what the answer would be today, right? Mm-hmm. But coming into the fall, let's say August 31st. All right, how far is basketball going to go compared to football, compared to baseball? What would have been your pecking order?
Honestly, I think I would have said baseball.
Yeah.
But I would have thought...
It would have been close, though, right?
Yeah, and I would have thought... I think I would have put baseball, basketball, and then football, and then I would have thought they would all do well, really well. I was feeling like A&M had a chance. I was thinking second day of the tournament or second weekend of the tournament.
Yeah, I was too.
And with baseball, because getting the kid from Stanford and Lavalette coming back and Wiener and all that, I'm thinking Omaha.
Omaha, yeah.
Was a real possibility.
My mind still is super regional at the very least. Hopefully Omaha. And the only reason I say it like that is I think of Tennessee last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was, when they had that amazing run and they didn't make it, right? So I know how hard it is to get to Omaha, just like I understand how hard it is to get to a Final Four or to get to the playoffs in college football. I thought coming into football, they were about an 8-4 team, right? 8-4 to 9-3. I was hoping 9-3, but I thought they were more of an 8-4 team. I wasn't that far off. I thought basketball, second game of the tournament with second weekend aspirations. Mm-hmm. Way off so far on both of these, right? And I thought baseball, like, as I mentioned, probably a super regional team and potentially beyond if the pitching is good.
I know this. I was coming home from Reed Arena last night, and I was listening to Sirius Radio and, college sports station, and guy, I can't even remember who the guys were, but the host was saying, talking about the games of last night, and he said, he made the point. He said the most disappointing team in the country this year is Texas A&M.
100%. Are they the most disappointing team on campus? I know that football hurts the most. Are you more surprised by football 7-5 or this team where they're at today? I'm more surprised by basketball.
With this team where they are today.
Yeah.
I thought the football team would be better, and they could have been and should have been.
And they were. They were better than 5-7.
But I mean, I thought they would be better than they were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just said I thought the basketball team was probably going to be in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Let's check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We'll be at the Angry Elephant in Little Elm on Saturday from 5 to 7. I'll be there. Billy will be there. Caitlin Torn in the house. Hello, Caitlin.
Hey, good morning.
See, that was a hat. See, we're over here being grumpy old men.
Yeah.
She's in a good mood.
I'm in a good mood.
Why?
She's on TV. She's on radio.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Nothing to complain about. I don't know. I'm a little tired. The game went a little past my bedtime last night, but.
Are you an early bed person?
I'm an early get in bed person. Takes me a while to fall asleep, but I'm usually in bed at like 10:30-ish.
That game ended probably around 9:45.
Oh, no. It had to be later than that.
Was it later than that?
Yeah.
I think it was later.
Was it?
Yeah, I know I didn't get
wonder
home.
I'm tired.
I didn't get home till after midnight. And, of course, then I'm keyed up, right?
Yeah.
So I watched TV until I fell asleep. So I probably was up till 1, past 1.
All right, Ms. Torn, what do you got for us?
We already have some text in the text group. We have a question from Sutton in College Station that says, do y'all see any similarities between Jimbo and Buzz and the archaic and easy to defend offense and the lack of embracing the transfer portal as similar downfalls to each program?
Well, I wouldn't say that Buzz is not. I mean, he's used the portal.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten Oscar Sheboy in the portal, but Dexter Dennis, Boots Radford, these are all portal guys. Jace Carter,
Carter, Henry Coleman.
Yeah.
Last year they brought in Julius Marble, Anderson Garcia.
I would say the biggest issue, the offense is the biggest issue, but I think personnel, like roster construction.
Well, once again, we were talking about this earlier, and if you're going to rely on the portal, then you got to hit every year. Right. And if you don't, and last year they hit.
And the year before they hit.
And the year before they hit. But, this year they're fouling some off.
Yeah. Well, and the other part, the archaic offense, I don't know if it's an archaic offense.
It's limited.
It is limited because of personnel. But I'd like to see what the offense would look like with some other options.
I just wonder, again, I watched so often, and especially in the first half, South Carolina, move the ball so much and around the perimeter and then finding guys cutting and things like that. And you don't have the personnel to do that, to do something similar. So I don't know.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll check in with Caitlin here in a moment. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're on Highway 21. They're in Caldwell. They're online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you're looking for a new vehicle, it is stressful. There's no doubt about that. When you're looking for a new vehicle, you want to make sure that you get the right price. I think that's where it starts for all of us, right? We all have kind of a feel for what we're looking for. I need an SUV, I need a truck, I need a van, I need a sports car, whatever it may be. And then kind of like the layout of the prices of that vehicle. Then you try to shop for the best one, all right? So you go through all that. Then you start thinking to yourself, well, what's going to be like the best customer service, and where am I going to get the best trade-in value? And I'm telling you, I think that answer is Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Great trade-in values, great customer service. That's what they're known for. And they have the complimentary pickup for your service customer. So after you buy your vehicle, you're going to be very happy with it. And then you're going to go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet for your service, or they're going to pick up your vehicle for you because they got the complimentary pickup, and they're going to bring it back to you, and you're going to be so elated with the entire process. Remember, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. I'm not surprised, are you?
About what?
Basketball. Like, as of yesterday. Like, I thought we'd probably win, but I'm certainly not surprised.
I thought A&M would win, but I didn't think they would shoot 11.8% for three-point range.
Hey, we're TexAgs Radio. You know that, right?
We are.
Yeah. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. You knew that.
I knew that.
Did you know we're in the Rollo Insurance Studio?
I did.
And this is the Go Hour?
Mm-hmm.
And it's presented by?
CC Creations.
That's correct. Look at you. You're a marketer.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at this, buddy. Hey, let's turn our attention for a moment. We're going to have Logan Lee to break down basketball later on in the program. But let's turn our attention now, OB. Remember the Johnny Manziel interview?
Yeah.
With Shannon Sharp, where he went on to say that Brian Hoyer made it a very cold quarterback room. Remember that?
I've heard about that.
Yeah. And we may actually have that sound. I don't know if Nick will be able. We do? Let's listen to that sound because I want to go from there to what Brian Hoyer had to say. So here's Johnny Manziel last week on Club Shay Shay. That disregard. We're not going to do that. I thought he said we did.
I have the Hoyer sound. I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Well, basically, Johnny said it was not a good quarterback room. And he goes, ask Connor Shaw, ask somebody else. Dowell Loggins. Like, they know. Like, it was a cold room. So Brian Hoyer was on Good Morning Football. You're shaking your head.
I just don't think that Johnny Manziel should be critical of anybody in the NFL because of the things he did.
Yep. I covered Brian Hoyer for a year. I think it was a year. I remember he was not a big fan of Johnny, but very he's the kind of guy the media loved to talk to because he was very polite and gave you good answers.
Well, who do you think was a fan of Johnny on that Browns team?
Josh Gordon.
Okay, another derelict.
Yeah. Let's try to think. That's it.
I now have the Brian Hoyer sound from Johnny loaded if you'd like to hear it.
Is it
53 seconds.
Okay, well, let's listen to this Johnny on Brian Hoyer.
For me, because of Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer had been waiting on opportunity to be able to go really provide for his family, get an opportunity, and he saw how much of an upper hand he had on me, and he didn't hold back when it came to that. So there was instances in the quarterback room early on where I would ask the same question a couple times, and he'd be at the head of the table and go, again? We're doing this again? Wow. Keep him out of it, right? Let's just cut that off. And I don't have a bad word to say about Brian Hoyer. That is just fact of what happened in that room. So when that happened...
So if we were to ask another quarterback that's in that room...
Go ask Connor Shaw. Go ask Connor Shaw, who played at South Carolina and was with us in Cleveland. Go ask him how Brian Hoyer was in that room. Go ask...
All right, so that was him. And so then they asked Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer... By the way, I kind of understand Brian Hoyer. If I'm I'm not saying I would have agreed with the way he handled it because who was the remind me? There was another quarterback that treated Johnny great. It'll come to me in a second, but I get it. Like you're the chosen man to be the leader of this franchise, and you're not being serious about it. I understand. I also wish Brian would have put his arm around him and been like, "Hey, bro, let's go. Let's take care of business." Here's Brian Hoyer yesterday on Good Morning Football.
I'm on my vacation last week in Florida, and I get a text from Mac Jones who goes, "Hey, funny, I didn't get this treatment as a rookie." And look, I'll be honest, Johnny's right. That was an opportunity for me to go out and be the starter of my hometown team. But I was kind of apathetic towards him, I would say. I didn't go out of my way to, be a jerk to him. But in the same sense, I was trying to win this job and go out and perform the best I could. I feel sorry that he feels that way about it. I always looked at it like, never had any animosity towards Johnny. If anything, it was towards the owner and the GM who were always trying to push him ahead of me when clearly he wasn't ready and I was going to be the starter. So, it's unfortunate that, that left a bad taste in his mouth. But, like I said, never had any animosity towards Johnny. And, I feel bad that he feels that way. But, I don't really recall it being that way either. So.
Was that the first time you watched it?
When Max sent it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, Max sent it to me. He texted me. I'm on the beach. I'm like, oh, God, here we go.
I love when you were watching it just now with us,
I didn't see the
that you
full
were
thing.
like, I don't think I've ever sat at the head of the table.
No, I sat on the left.
We're going to fact check this.
Yeah.
Again, my point is, maybe that was the case. Yeah. And if it was, then, you would say, hey, dude, you kiss it. I'm going to ask this question. I don't care if you like it or not, because I'm going to get this, because I'm coming to take your job.
Right.
But we're talking about the guy that they said wouldn't watch film, that wouldn't study, that wouldn't do his rehab, was going to Vegas in a disguise.
Yeah, and thank you, Wixenag. It was Josh McCown who put Johnny under his wing and had his back. At the end of the day, when when you're asked questions in an interview, a couple years removed, you're going to answer it the way you remember it, right? I would say the only thing I wish Johnny would have added would have been like, you know what? And Brian was probably right.
I still believe Johnny Manziel would have been a very successful NFL quarterback, much like I think his success would have been much like Baker, or at least like Baker or Kyler Murray, had he taken it seriously.
Yeah. He didn't.
And so you're going to get mad at Brian Hoyer about that? Did Brian Hoyer keep Johnny Manziel from being successful, or did Johnny Manziel keep Brian Hoyer?
I think the two things can be separate conversations. Johnny held himself back 100%. I think he was craving a Cliff Kingsbury, a big brother, and he didn't get it.
You know what? He should have stayed in school. If you're not mature enough to be a professional, and he'd probably say that too. I should have stayed in school.
All right,
but once you took the $2 million and plus, it's time to be a professional.
Right. All right, let's hit a break. It's when we come back, Stephen McGee going to join us. Troubadour Festival time, a Texas barbecue and musical experience, returns to A&M's Aggie Park Saturday, May the 18th. And this year's event is even bigger and better. It's going to be great when I tell you some of these headliners. But, of course, it's about the barbecue when you go there. The barbecue is amazing. They're going to have 35 of the best barbecue joints in Texas for you to indulge in, unlimited samples, like going to Costco, except you're going to be getting barbecue. It's amazing. And when you go there. They also have live country music on 2 stages all day, including the headliner, the music icon himself, Travis Tritt. He'll be joined by Texas country legend Pat Green, as well as William Clark Green, the Red Clay Strays, Cameron Saki Band, and much, much more. Whether you want to experience the barbecue and the concert, or just the concert itself, there's a ticket for you. Tickets are on sale now at troubadourfestival.com. That is troubadourfestival.com. Get your tickets now, and we'll see you at Aggie Park on Saturday, May the 18th for the Troubadour Festival. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm David Nuño. He is Olin Buchanan. Today's Thursday, February 29th, Leap Day.
Leap Day.
Yeah, we got some Leap Day numbers for some history for you here in a little bit. Let's go to the hotline. We're joined by Stephen McGee, our QB1 from Paragon Financial. What's up, Stephen? Good morning, buddy.
Hey, there's Georgia.
All right.
That's Georgia. She's making her radio debut today. She's saying goodbye. She's about to go to daycare. We're doing good, man. We finally got over hand, foot, mouth in our household. Don't know if you guys ever experienced that with your kids, but I personally got it.
Uh-oh.
And it's a brutal virus. Like I got the blisters on my bald spot. Like if my bald spot could ever be more unattractive, it definitely did that. It was brutal. Like I had the flu-like symptoms, fever, then it transitioned. Now I have ulcers in my throat.
Oh no.
My mouth. Hand, foot, mouth daycare, the stuff that goes around those places is tough.
I don't think I ever got it.
I never did.
I don't think our family got it. I don't think we got it.
We were fortunate that we didn't have to deal with that.
Steven, you paying attention to Aggie hoops at all?
You guys know I'm not a big basketball guy. Yeah. I keep up with like the big picture, but not really the nitty gritty.
It's been rough, man. Hey, I want to read you this because I found this headline and it made me think of Coach Elko in a way. Mike Norvell on Florida State, and he's seeing some players go in the portal, and he says this program's not for everyone. And I say that, I feel like that's what we are seeing at A&M a little bit. This program now is not for everyone, right? There's a standard that has to be met, and I welcome that, and I think we all do, right?
Yeah, totally. I love that there's we don't necessarily care as much anymore about just being a talented recruit. We want really good, talented football players here that buy into what it is that we need to do to be champions as a football team. The team is always first, and I feel like at times it almost came across that the athlete or the individual was as important or more important than the game plan at times. And so I'm excited that everything appears to be very well run and organized from the top down with Mike Elko, and I think most importantly is the team message, and that you're going to win and you're going to lose football games together. Not as individuals.
Did you feel like when you were playing at Texas A&M that everybody was, quote, bought into the team first mentality? And if not, how did y'all react to the guys that didn't?
Good question. I mean, there's always guys. We got 120, 18 to 22-year-olds. You're always going to have guys that are on the fringe. I mean, think about a guy like Von Miller, who's arguably the best Aggie to ever do it. And a great representative, off the field as well. Not to say he's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but earlier in his career at A&M, he was not a guy that I would say was fully bought in and committed both on and off the field, right? But then a switch flip for him, and when Sherman got the job, he became a real professional in his approach. Not just on game day, obviously, but on the practice field and in this time of year, the off-season programs, he was a leader. And so that's when you saw his career change. And so, different guys come along at different periods of time, but ultimately, if a guy's not willing to do what the team's asking to, then I think they're going to get confronted by the leaders of the team. And that's what happened on our team. We had some really, really good leaders that were, they were willing to go say what needed to be said to whoever it is on the team that needed to hear it, right? They weren't scared. Red Bryant and Kirk Elder and Cody Wallace, guys like that.
So who'd they tell? Who'd they tell who was it that needed to hear it?
Told me. It was probably me, Obi.
I know better than that.
Stephen, about a week ago, it was being discussed that college football could expand the playoffs that start this year from 12 to 14. And then yesterday, Ross Dellinger had a report that said in this new model, if it is adopted, it looks like the Big Ten will get 3 teams, automatic qualifiers. The SEC will get 3 automatic qualifiers. The ACC and Big 12 would each get 2 bids. And then the group of 5 would get 1 auto bid. And then 3 teams would get an at-large. I guess the big thing there is guaranteed 3 SEC, guaranteed Big Ten. What do you think?
I'm curious to hear y'all's take on this, but my opinion is that the best teams should make it in, irrespective of where they play. You know, I understand that you want to have maybe one automatic bid or two automatic bids just because of the quality of play, and they're going to naturally carry more losses. So you want the second best SEC team to automatically get in, even if they have two losses. Maybe I could hear that argument, but I think if they come from the ACC or whatever it is now, the Pac-10 or 12 or 6 or 4, you know, let them in. Like, they deserve to be in based on their record and beating good quality teams.
OB?
I don't think I like any number saying guaranteed beyond a conference champion.
Yep.
And if you're good enough, you're going to get in anyway, right? And I would also probably stipulate that you have to have at least 9 wins to get in. And then there should be a strength of schedule component, right? But I don't think I like the idea of saying, well, because you're in this conference, you have to get this many. What if there's not 3 good Big Ten teams? And that's not a stretch.
This year,
right?
That would have been Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, obviously.
And was Penn State really that good?
Playoff good? I don't think so.
So
and in the SEC, it would have been Georgia, Bama, and Ole Miss. Sound right?
Georgia, Bama, and Ole Miss, yeah. That sounds right to me.
And I would say those 3 deserve to go in a 12-team playoff.
And, you know, quite frankly, somebody else might have gotten in. But so I think you're probably going to get 3 anyway, at least. I just don't like the idea of saying, yeah, you know, this conference is always going to get 3 in, and this conference isn't, because we are who we are. Again, I think there's going to be several years you could point at the Big Ten lately and say they had 2 good teams.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, I think with the expansion of the Pac-12 to the big Pac-12 teams coming, I think that's where it helps, obviously.
Did Penn State win their bowl game? I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
I thought they lost to Ole Miss or somebody.
But
like
Oregon.
Well, once they're in, yeah, that could be. But still, just earn it. You don't have to be guaranteed.
So, Steven, you would just rather have the best 14 teams, whatever that is.
I agree. I'm right there with OB. I don't like guarantees just because of the conference you affiliate with. I think, yeah, generally speaking, you're probably going to get, if you had 3 teams in the SEC, it probably in most years makes sense. But it's not to say there's not an outlier year, even in the SEC, where that 3rd team, let's say, doesn't deserve to get in, but they automatically get in. And, you know, a good football team from, let's say, the ACC, I don't know, Clemson or whoever, pick the name, should have gotten in. They didn't.
Steven, is there look, we're just guessing here, spitballing, but is there a team this year that is a typical almost playoff team that might fall out? Like, for instance, Bama. We don't know what to expect from Bama. New coach, new players, right? Is there a team out there, maybe it's LSU, who loses Jaden Daniels to the NFL and Malik Neighbors and whatnot, that you think is a staple in the conversation that may not be in that conversation?
Ooh, it's a great question. I'd probably have to look in this more deeply. But the 2 teams you mentioned, I think, are very intriguing headlines going into the season just because of some drastic changes. You know, obviously Alabama goes without saying, but LSU is really, really interesting to me because you have a program that I feel like has a lot of good momentum despite not having a phenomenal record last year. And I like their quarterback. You know, Daniels is a phenomenal player, but this Nussmeier kid has really done some things whenever he's had the opportunity. He's put up good numbers. He's a quarterback son, coach son. So I could see him having a really, really good year. They always have great receivers in that offense. LSU to me is the team right now in the West that I'm most intrigued about. Right there, I guess Ole Miss probably going to be very good too with their quarterback back in Lane Kiffin, unfortunately.
Obi, let me throw you one. How about Michigan?
Oh, I think Michigan's definitely going to take a huge step back, right?
Right.
And I have to admit, I haven't gone over. I haven't poured over but it just makes sense. So they're going to replace their quarterback, a bunch of really good linemen. I thought that's
their coach.
Their coach. But I think they probably recruited well enough, and they have a more established enough program that they're still going to be a contender. Even though I would pick Ohio State today to win the Big Ten. But I think that I think they're probably due a sizable step back. Of course, they're not going to win the national championship. I think the team that makes the most sense is the one you mentioned, LSU. I know what Steven said about Nussmeier is true when he's had the opportunity, but I would come back and say, we still don't know about Nussmeier. Mm-hmm. He came in against Georgia in the SEC championship 2 years ago and threw the ball well, but the game was already over. I don't think he was playing an intense Georgia defense anymore. And then last year in the bowl game, it was against Wisconsin, which was god-awful.
Right.
So I'm not saying the kid can't play. I'm saying we don't know what the drop-off from a Heisman Trophy winner to Nussmeier is.
Yeah.
Plus, LSU's going to have 2 first-round draft choices that were receivers on their team last year, Thomas and Neighbor. And I know they always have good receivers, but the next guys aren't going to be as good as those guys.
Yep.
And their defense is terrible.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with more Stephen McGee here on TexAgs Radio. We'll do a little buy, sell, lease, that and more. You're listening to TexAgs. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Stephen McGee still with us there on the hotline. Stephen, let's play a little buy, sell, lease. Thinking about the combine here and the quarterbacks in it. Places where a top quarterback would want to go. All right, here are the 3 places, right? Chicago's got the number 1 pick. Washington's got the number 2 pick. And New England's got the number 3 pick. If you're one of these top quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, whomever, Jaden Daniels, as we just spoke about, Drake May, what's places a top quarterback would want to go? Who you buying, selling, and leasing?
Man, there's so many factors here. Historically, I would say New England, but now they kind of seem like a, I don't know, a 2 or 3 pick away from being a top quarterback. I mean, I think they're going to be a top quarterback. But I think they're going to be a top quarterback. I think they're going to be a top quarterback. untalented roster, even in their conference. Chicago is probably going to be the one I would buy, just because you have a franchise that historically would do what it takes to win, and they'll spend money. Washington, I feel like, has always been kind of the dog of the NFC East. Not necessarily a true statement. Maybe I got a little biased Dallas blood in me. So I'll definitely think I'd sell Washington, and maybe I'd lease New England with hope that they could revive in a sports-rich town and franchise, that they could revive it back to the old days. But you have the weather circumstance, right, for a quarterback.
Right.
It's not fun playing in Chicago, not fun playing in New England. Really not great playing in Washington either, but that's a hard one. Obi, what are you doing?
Well, hold on. Obi, let me just say this and see if this affects the way you look at it. The offensive coordinators at all three places. Shane Waldron enters his first season there. He was at Seattle before. Washington's got our guy Cliff Kingsbury now, right? And New England's got Alex Van Pelt, who has had a couple of really good years.
From San Antonio.
So there you go. I'll give you that info.
I think, Stephen, the one I'd buy, I think, is Washington.
Yep.
And you know what it comes down to me is, what's the Ohio State kid who's a really good receiver at Washington?
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but he's really good. I think he was a third-round pick out of Ohio State. But he's a really, really good receiver. So at least I've got that guy. I don't know who the receivers are at Chicago. And doesn't Chicago have just an abysmal offensive line? Probably. That's why they're picking first. I think I'd buy Washington's lease New England and sell Chicago.
Well, Stephen, after I mentioned that to you, who the
Lauren.
coordinators?
Terry McLaurin.
McLaurin, there you go.
Yeah, that's the guy I was thinking of. He's really good.
After I tell you the coordinators, has that changed maybe the way you look at it?
Not really. I mean, I don't keep up with the coordinator and the offense as much. I mean, the one guy I keep up with the most is obviously Gerard Johnson. Other than that, they don't mean as much to me. Cliff Kingsbury, but is Cliff Kingsbury as relevant today as he was, I don't know, a decade ago? I think this is a very important stint for him in his future coaching career. I know he's still young, but I think it's time to put up or shut up, right? And so, it's funny, you talked about the receivers. New England, there was a stat I saw recently, and I'm not sure how they measure this, but it's the receivers that separated the least. They got on the most amount of snaps they were able to separate from the defender the least amount of times, or on the highest percentage of snaps. It was New England. Two of New England starters were in that top 10 across the entire league, which is pretty staggering. So obviously for a quarterback, that's a tough place as well.
All right, let me do this. What, you're going to say something?
I was going to say, do you know who the Chicago Bears' top 3 all-time leading passers are?
Who?
Jay Cutler.
Okay, I knew that, yeah.
And you know who's number 2? I mean, think about how many games this guy didn't play, and he's number 2 in Chicago. Sid Luckman.
Okay.
What that's telling me is Chicago is just not a good place for quarterbacks.
I'm trying to think who else. Who would be number 3?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh's number 3. Wow.
That's tough. Okay. So maybe we need to sell Chicago. Just can you imagine though, like trying to play a game in December? You got like Green Bay coming to town. You got that wind blown field.
What I mean.
It's freezing cold. I mean, it's got to be miserable trying to just throw a ball in that element. I don't know.
Hey, in the last 2 minutes of the hour, have you guys seen the Kentucky brawl in the locker room?
I did.
Have you seen it, Stephen?
No.
All right, let's see if we can play it for you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on your screen, but this happened a couple days ago, Kentucky, and this was I thought it was like a play fight. It was a legit fight there in the Kentucky locker room. I forget who posted it on Twitter, College Football Home or whatever it was, but like a legit fight there. Mark Stoops, almost your head coach at Texas A&M. That can happen anywhere. I'm just kind of kidding.
It does.
It does. It probably happens
it
everywhere.
happened here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the next steps are after that. You talk about the culture. That's how we started. Those type of things can't happen. I remember Sherman was very quick to emphasize that there'd be no fighting on any football team in which he coached, and guys he was quick to make drastic moves. So Kentucky's a team that I'm going to be watching next year just for the sake of Mark Stoops and the interest we had at A&M. It's times are changing in that league, in college football and sports, NIL, and guys getting paid, attitudes and egos at 18 years old. It's different.
Who's the last guy you fought?
See, OB, I was always the guy starting the fight, but I always knew that the big 5 linemen were behind me. So I always had an eye to the back, like, hey, make sure they're coming because I'm quickly going to back out of this deal.
So great. Thank you, Steven. Talk to you next week, bud.
All right, guys. See y'all.
Man.
Bye.
I don't believe that. He's a feisty guy.
Yeah.
As a quarterback. He really was. Tough guy.
OB, thank you, sir.
You bet.
When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, ready to be happy again? We're going to be happy. Jim Schlossnagle, Richard Zane. At least we'll be happy with Schloss. We'll talk to AT later on. Logan Lee will be on the phone, bring us right back down. And then the fan show presented by Jar Construction. We'll get to your text messages and all that good stuff next on TexAgs Radio. Happy times, this segment here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Happy because we're talking a little baseball here. Richard Zane's with us as we go to the hotline, and we are joined by Jim Schlossnagle here to talk about this upcoming series coming up at Globe Life. Schloss, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing well. Good to visit with you.
Well, great to talk to you. Thoughts on going on the road after such a successful homestand here, going to Arlington?
Yeah, looking forward to getting up there. Sure we'll have a good following of Aggies, and 12th man always shows up, especially in the Metroplex or Houston, those big cities. Excited. Road trips are always a good time with your team, just getting a chance to be together. Home games are awesome, but road trips is where you form the camaraderie of your club, which is already pretty good. And looking forward to playing some good teams. I think that we've done well against the schedule we played. I thought the starting pitcher we faced on Tuesday night from Lamar was outstanding, 92-95. Excuse me, split and a breaking ball. That was good preparation, and we're certainly going to. Arizona State can really. I'm sitting here watching them right now. Man, they can really hit. Really good offensive team, and they're getting one of their best hitters back who hasn't played yet this year. So, got a great test coming up this weekend.
Maybe the superficial question on top of this weekend, but getting to play in a big league ballpark, Coach, what does that do for you and the players on this roster? Get to kind of dream a little bit to be in a major league park.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like we normally play in Houston or Arlington or something like that almost every year. So number one, just an awesome life experience. The Major League World Series was just played there, and that's a great life experience for everybody, including the coaches, myself. I mean, I've been in many of those stadiums, but it never gets old to be in that environment. And I think it's great. It definitely changes the heart rate a little bit. You got to get things under control, and that's good preparation, for conference play, postseason, all that kind of stuff. And then, this ballpark is very unique. It's got the turf where grass is supposed to be and dirt where dirt's supposed to be. And it's also really big, especially in the middle of the field. So, you better really hammer it if you think you're going to get a homer. The gaps are huge, and you better really play good outfield defense. It's a really big park in the middle of the field. Down the lines, you can hit the homers, but in the middle of the field, it's a big ballpark.
Schloss, do you foresee the rotation being the same as last weekend?
No. We'll throw Tanner Jones on Saturday, Lampkin on Sunday. Wanted to give Justin a chance this week to work on a few things. His results have been good, but he's got some things he's got to clean up, and so we'll get Tanner in that middle game and Prager in the first game.
And you foresee Tanner getting a little bit more of a leash this week?
Yes. Yeah. He felt really good. He only threw 21 pitches in 2 innings the other day. And so I think that, I'm not sure what the number will be. It just depends on how he feels. Probably around 45, 50-ish, something like that, depending on how it's going. But excited to get him out there.
You mentioned Arizona State's ability to hit the baseball. I'm interested in how much of your decision to shuffle your rotation a little bit, it goes into their numbers versus left-handed pitching versus right-handed pitching now that you'll have your two righties going against the Sun Devils on Friday and Sunday respectively.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing had to do with them. Zero. We knew we wanted to eventually get Tanner in the middle game of a series, assuming everybody stays healthy and pitches well. That's kind of the way we like to go attack a weekend when we get to conference play, and we felt like since he only threw 21 pitches last week, now is the time to do it
versus if we do it, have him throw Sunday this week and he throws, 50, 60 pitches, something like that, then he's thrown more, and then we bring him back on shorter rest if we wanted to juggle it the next weekend. So just felt like now was the perfect time to do it. I hadn't even looked at ASU before we made those decisions on Monday. And so, I mean, they can hit. I mean, they can hit the left. They have a lot of left-hand hitters, but they stay on the baseball. I'm sitting here watching guys hammer balls to left center field. When you're doing that as a left-handed hitter, especially left on left, that just tells you what kind of great hitter they are. We have our work cut out for us. Prager's got his work cut out for him. He's a good pitcher. If he continues to fill up the strike zone, he'll be fine. The challenge for our pitching staff is what's coming is you got to keep throwing those strikes, and some of them are going to get better swings put on them, and some of those balls are going to get hammered. But can you get right back in the strike zone? And whereas maybe against some lesser teams, you've been getting away with some things, and so don't let contact keep you from continually being a strike thrower.
Speaking of talented left-handed hitters, Coach, have you seen very many 52-degree launch angle home runs in your career?
Well, up until a couple of years ago, launch angle sounded like something that maybe the space shuttle would do. So I had no idea even what that is. So or was until now, until my man Travis Brown told me that after the game the other day. But yeah, I mean, Jason's a big, strong guy. I don't know how much that wind helped that ball. Not a ton, but I think it just happened to land in the perfect part of the ballpark on that night. But no, I haven't. I've never seen that.
Schloss, yesterday Bronny on the show was mentioning a really heads-up play from Jace Lavalette. The first hit of the game, it looked like it was just going to be a routine signal, and he turned it into a double based on what the center fielder did. Just talk about that, just his baseball IQ, the acumen, and just how he can read the moment.
Well, Jace plays hard, and he can run. And, some of the things you see are some of the things, it's a great job by him. He hit it hard, and the job of a base runner is you run until the defense stops you. Otherwise, keep running. And, our players, Crawford made an out at third base in maybe the first game of the season or something like that. But we watch, if you're at the ballpark early and you see our team, when the other team takes infield outfield, we stand down the left field line and we watch the arm strength of and their job is to know the arm strength of the outfielders because they're the ones that make those decisions. It's not like the only time a real baseball player needs a base coach is when you're scoring from second base because you can't see the ball. Going first to third is the decision of the player. It has nothing to do with the third base coach. So when the guy gets thrown out, don't yell at no one came. He had nothing to do with it. We're trying to develop winning players that can go into professional baseball and be successful, and part of that is making your own decisions. And so what was happening in that game is, did you see where the outfielders were playing? I mean, Jace hit a ball in his second or third at bat that would have been a homer or off the fence if the outfielder was playing in a normal spot. And I think Gavin Grahovic's ball to center field would have been a home run that barely scraped over the fence, but the outfielders were playing so deep. So the outfielders are playing so deep, that means on any ball you hit, you can go first to third, and any ball that squeaks through an infield, you have a great chance for a double. So I think a lot of things go into that decision, and certainly Jace can run, and he kept running, and you saw it.
How have you seen him mature, I guess, both mentally and physically, just in the past year? Because, this start that he's on has been something incredible and something that A&M fans are really watching. That now he's got 6 home runs in 8 games.
Yeah, I've seen him he's more comfortable. Normally the biggest growth you see in a player, if you were to measure it, is between freshman and sophomore. Because everything's, they have an idea on everything, whether it be class or practice or weights and the schedule of things. And so they just kind of settle in. They're more comfortable. And so I think Jace is, his heart, he plays at a lower heart rate than he did last year. He's having some success, and that's always nice beginning of the year, is to guys to get off to a decent start so they feel better about themselves. And that way, when you hit that stretch where you don't do so well, you don't feel as beat up. He's staying on the baseball. Maybe my favorite at bat, I love the homers. They're awesome. But the other night he had the 2 strike at bat runners at second and third, and he just the infield was back, and he stayed on a ball, hit it to left field, and he dropped. It was a changeup, and he dropped down to almost to a knee like Adrian Beltre, just to keep the bat in the strike zone and get the ball in play. And that was one of my favorite at bats of his career, because as soon as you see a big, strong like that, a guy like that, giving himself up for the team, then the home runs will take care of themselves. And him using the entire field to hit and just flaring one to left field to score a run, that says a lot about him. So he's maturing right in front of our eyes, and just got to keep him healthy, man. He's a great player.
Very timely Adrian Beltre reference, Coach. I appreciated that a lot.
You got it, buddy. First ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, Schloss, can we get into the first base with Targac and Bender up the rotation potentially this weekend?
I think we're going to see all right-handers. So, Targo, he's stayed on some baseballs. He's having better at bats. Blake's working through some things. I'd like to get Blake to start. Frankly, I'd love to get Teddy Burton out there and maybe give us a few options to, mix in some of these other guys. Caden Sorrell had an unbelievable day yesterday on the field in our sim game. I think he had 3 hits. All of them hit really hard. I'd love to get Jack Bell somehow. We have 5 games coming up, 3 over the weekend and 2 in the middle of next week. So we should get some opportunities to do that. But got to remember Benderup's still a freshman. And so we'll get him out there as much as we can. Targo has proven it, and we'll ride his streak. I'd like to give him some right-handed at-bats if they bring some lefties in, because he needs that. But we'll just kind of play it day to day and see what the matchup looks like in terms of what the starting pitcher does.
Talking to Jim Schlossnagle here on TexAgs Radio. Jim, how do you feel Chris Cortez looked and the way he battled back?
I thought he did great. Like I said in the post game, you're not going to have your A stuff. Like the Tuesday game against Incarnate Word, he was, he had 2 really good pitches. He was commanding both of them. And on days like that, you're going to win almost every day. But a sign of a good pitcher is when he can keep his team in the game, when he doesn't have his best stuff. So he made pitches when he had to make them. He gave up some hits, which is fine, because as long as he's in the strike zone, that's fine. He scattered a few. He had a couple bad 4-pitch walks. I mean, don't get me wrong. Walking 4 guys is unacceptable. He knows that. But the ability to get back in the count on the next hitter and finish the inning, if we just knock a ball down at third base, he probably doesn't give up any runs. That was a tough play for Gavin. But that's a ball that's got to be kept in the infield in some form. But other than that, anytime you can keep your team in the ball game when you don't have your absolute best stuff that's a sign of a good pitcher. So to me, it was a great night for Chris.
Speaking of pitching, on Tuesday night, we got our first look at Braden Montgomery on the mound. What were your takeaways from his outing, and moving forward, what do you think the plan for using him on the mound is going to be here in the next few weeks?
I thought he did great. Frankly, it's the best he's pitched since he's been here, even in the fall that I can remember. He threw his fastball, his breaking ball, and his changeup all for strikes. He was in control of himself. He got behind in the count to the second hitter and got right back in the count. And so that was great for him. And he didn't get he ran out of right field. If you were there, I just pointed at the bullpen, and he ran straight to the bullpen, got loose, and then came in the game, which is, unless he starts a game, that's going to be his role. And so he earned more time, for sure. He threw strikes. So the way you earn more time, at least with me, is throw strikes. The strike throwers pitch. And so he and Jet Johnson threw yesterday, did okay. When you get in a 27-man travel squad, you can't take 16 pitchers. You can take maybe 12, depending on 12 or 13, depending on what you're trying to do on the weekend. So to have
Montgomery and to have, potentially Jet Johnston on that roster, they can suck up some innings, when you need it. And the better they pitch, then the more high value or what's the term they use today, leverage, the more high leverage situations that they'll pitch in. So Braden did great. He's doing great. He'll continue to do great.
Schloss, are there any other relievers that you need to see more of or want to see more of?
I thought Luke Jackson was awesome the other day. Weston Moss made some really good pitches through a 3-2 changeup to get a good hitter out. Badmead. I think all those guys, we just, we got to get them more. Peyton Smith. Peyton Smith would be the guy that we got to get on the mound. He threw yesterday, did okay, but we got to get him out there. He's got some unique stuff, unique pitches, and we have to find out if he can pitch when it really counts. So it's probably those two guys, along with Morton. Morton's super talented, and we got to keep running him out there because he's a game changer.
Schloss, against Lamar, there was a flip at 8 and 9. You had Ali Camarillo there at 8 with Caden Kent at 9. Did you like what you saw from those two there?
Sure. Yeah, as long as they get on base for those dudes that are coming up. I try to balance the lineup out. Right, left switch. Try to make it a little bit challenging on the other team. Coach on the decisions that they make. So as long as those guys get on base, I haven't looked at the numbers, but I know their on-base percentage is solid. They've gotten some hits. Ali smoked the ball to right field. Just missed, again, another situation where the outfield was playing so deep in a normal game. That ball this weekend will probably be at least a double. But yeah, those guys have been doing a nice job of getting on base. That's all we need them to do down there is get on base, because those horses coming behind you can do some damage.
Big picture question. 5 games in 6 days beginning tomorrow, Coach. What do you need to see from your team during this stretch that'll give you another dose of confidence before conference play begins in 2 weeks?
Yeah, just more of the same. I think, when you have 5 games in 6 days or whatever it is, you need good starting pitching that stretches things out so you don't have to go into that bullpen early. I still am looking at Arizona State and haven't looked at USC yet, but, we'll try to have good matchups for that. But you just need good, to me, I know starting pitching is less of a thing. The average, as we've talked about before, the average start in the SEC last year was 4 2/3. And did you know the average, the average ERA, or the lowest ERA in SEC only games last year was around 5.5. And so it's just really tough to pitch. And so I think as much as we can get out of that starter, as long as we can, then that'll help, alleviate the pressure on the bullpen when you have all those games.
Schloss, we appreciate your time. Best of luck. We'll see you there in Arlington.
All right. You guys have a safe trip up there and enjoy the time that you're having on Saturday. I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun and encourage a lot of Aggies to come out. Gig 'em.
Gig 'em. Thanks, Schloss. Appreciate you, sir. Good stuff there from Jim. Man, one of the things that I wanted to get into that I didn't do, but the quality of the at-bats from A&M. We always talk about the offense, Richard, but, these are quality at-bats. It's not just mashing. It's mashing at the right time.
Oh, I completely agree. I think the perfect example of that might be Gavin Grohovic's first at-bat of the year.
Yeah.
I think it was a 9-pitch walk, something like that. And this is an 18-year-old kid playing in front of more people than he's ever played in front of. And they've continued that throughout their first 8 games. It's been really, really pleasing to see out of them.
Yep. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now it's time to talk about Heritage Films. That's Chance McClain's company. They make documentary films about families. And if you haven't considered doing a documentary for your dad, your grandfather, maybe your family business, your family ranch, I think you should really consider it. Or maybe just a documentary around your buddies, whatever you guys do together. Like if it's hunting, if it's, playing poker on the weekends, whatever it may be, golf. I think Chance could be really a great eye in the sky for family events and just good times to document those moments in a professional manner in a documentary style form We're talking almost 2-hour documentaries that he puts together for normal people, right? They're not reserved just for the Brad Pitts of the world, people, celebrities. You can have a documentary done about your family right now. And one thing I know is Aggies care about their stories, and that's why Aggies call Chance all the time to tell their story about their grandfather who graduated from A&M in 1968 and 1999 and all the good stuff that is out there. It is an awesome thing to do by getting a documentary done for your family. There's also the Yearflix option, which is cool too. It's a 20-minute video, more of a benchmark video reserved for the college students, for the high school students, the middle school students, to kind of talk about where they are in life. Q&A form. It's a green screen on a high chair. It's awesome. It's done such a nice job. We did one with Annalise, my middle daughter, and we got to learn things about her that we did not know. Benchmark video, again, like you follow it up in a couple years and have another one done. It is Heritage Films. The website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341. Again, that number is 713-893-8341, yourheritagefilm.com. Good song for this. We're going around the SEC here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Callie Gardner here with us, and I see you busy with the sales team, the social media team, and, of course, the broadcast team.
Oh, yes. Trying to stay as busy as possible and learn as much as I can. So.
There you go. Well, what do you have for us around the SEC?
Got some baseball first. On Tuesday, number 4 Florida lost to Stetson after the freshman pitcher Luke McNeely allowed 5 runs in the first inning, which ultimately ended up being enough for Stetson to win it, although they added 2 more in the bottom of the 8th, winning it 7-4. Number 16, Alabama holds off a scare. They defeated UAB 9-7 in 10 innings on Tuesday to stay perfect on their season. Last night, an undefeated Georgia team walked into a midweek run rule in favor of Michigan State, despite sophomore Charlie Condon going 3 for 4 at the plate, with 3 of those being home runs. Georgia and Charlie Condon will face off against Georgia Tech and Drew Burris this weekend in a 3-game series in Atlanta.
Drew Burris, you know who he is, right?
He's got 9 home runs on the season, and 4 of those came from their game on Tuesday. And he hit 4 home runs in 4 swings.
In 4 swings?
4 swings.
Is that good?
Good to me.
I think that sounds pretty good.
I've never seen that done before, so it's pretty good. This weekend, SEC matchups in baseball. Clemson and USC face off in a 3-game series. They are splitting the series. 1 is away, 1 is home, and 1 is at a neutral site, which is pretty cool. Florida is at Miami for a 3-game series. LSU faces Texas on Friday, and A&M faces Texas on Tuesday, which will be a fun little entrance to SEC baseball for the Longhorns. Last year, the LSU-Texas game was in Austin, and it was 0-0 till the top of the 9th when LSU put up a 3-spot to win it 3-0. A&M and Alabama are the only 2 undefeated teams in the SEC, while Alabama is the only school with undefeated baseball and softball. Some basketball. Missouri falls to Florida last night on the road, 83-74, and they sit last in the SEC with no conference wins. Tennessee holds off Auburn 92-84.
Why you got to bring up basketball? We were having such a good day.
I know.
Everything
were having
was
a
going
really
great,
good day.
and then all of a sudden I remember that we
basketball
lost
exists
5 in a row.
5 straight. Yeah, we were talking about that back there. We're hoping to not go 0-8 in our last.
God! Please don't even
last
say
8.
that. Don't
but
say
I think
it.
I think we can win.
We can win every game.
We can win every game
ever.
Yeah,
we can lose every game ever. Go ahead.
Dalton Connect had 39 points last night, and he had his 6th 30-plus point game this season for the Volunteers, which is really impressive. Their last 4 matchups of the year consist of ranked matchups for the Volunteers as well, so they had started their first one last night, and they've got 3 more. Alabama takes down Ole Miss in Oxford, 103-88. They had a rough start, but they finished it out pretty strong. Aaron Estrada's had a triple-double, which 18 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and that was the 4th triple-double in Alabama basketball history, which is really impressive. Georgia softball took down number 9 Clemson as they walked it off in the 8th inning, winning it 2-1. And South Carolina women's basketball clinched the outright SEC regular season champ, and they hold the number 1 seed in the SEC women's basketball tournament, which starts on Wednesday.
Oh, it's already here.
It's already here.
It's already here.
It's already here, which I always love basketball tournament.
Yeah.
I think they're fun to keep up with. And A&M has had good history, regardless of our season, in basketball tournaments, women's and men's. So maybe we'll show up strong.
Here's the deal. Until they figure out the offense, at least on the men's side, until they figure out a way to either hit 3-pointers at a little bit better than 17% clip, it doesn't matter. Right. When your offense is either hero ball, and it's not hero ball, it's probably not a fair way to say it. It is ISO ball a lot of times. Yes. It is attacking the basket, and they're so good at that. It just hasn't been very good. And Wade is typically a very reliable 3-point shooter.
For sure.
He hasn't been recently. He just has been. He's been in a huge slump.
In a huge slump, but we'll see how we take to the tournaments coming up. So that's all I've got for you today.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know we got a few text messages from earlier we did not get to. What do we got there, Caitlin?
We do have some text messages. They're loading on my computer.
What? Technology?
Technology. Jim in Temple.
Hey, Jim.
Talks about, he's a frequent texter. He says, one thing noticeable about South Carolina and seeing them for a full game, like Fish said, they're in a top 10 in assists to made baskets ratio. Slow paced, yes, but all five guys moving, plus the flat of the ball, moving quickly, moves faster. The defender's feet can run, no fumbled passes, and too many easy baskets at the rim, including final winning basket. Other than our 17-1 run, we were unable to steal or deflect their crisp passes. They call it TO and adjust again. They had 24 assists to A&M's 10, recruited 4 portal veterans from other places in offseason, and they all have clicked together.
They have clicked. It's been a phenomenal job. Maybe your SEC Coach of the Year. that was one of the things that OB was talking about. Was like, they just move. There's a lot of movement. It's not static. And at this point in the season, can you change your offense up? Probably not, but you got to change something. And I think yesterday we did see them attack the rim a little quicker, not allowing South Carolina to set up as much as they wanted. There were stretches of the game where that certainly wasn't the case, but I think we did see a little bit more of that. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Aaron Torres, and we'll talk some college basketball, but I really got to move on. You can't bring up bad stuff on this show.
I apologize.
All good. Right now, we're talking about the Association of Former Students. Hey, you're familiar with them. They're good.
I am familiar with them. They're pretty cool.
Pretty good. I've heard that if you work there, you're going to be happy. That's the rumor around town. If you work for the Association of Former Students, if you're trying to move to town, they got a lot of openings out there. If you want to come back to Aggie Land or you're already here and looking for a great opportunity, the Association of Former Students is looking to hire professionals to join their team. They've got positions open in fundraising, former student programs, and much, much more. You know this. They're the nation's premier alumni association, and they support that Aggie network as much as possible. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss an opportunity to help out with Howdy socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service out there, all in support of that wonderful Aggie network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/associationjobs to apply and get more information on each position. We are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, and now it is time for Around College Football, and that's brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. We go to the hotline. We're joined by Aaron Torres and AT, man, Fox Sports Radio, Aaron Torres Online. AT, I don't mean this to be disrespectful. Please don't take it that way. I know we joke around a lot. But I might have to mute your account for a couple weeks, you and others, because I don't want to be reminded about the NCAA tournament, and I know you're going to be talking a lot about that, because right now, that ain't happening, bro, for us at least.
Well, I was going to say, I think all Aggies fans, I appreciate Milliken Reserve supporting me for this segment for, the past however many years. I think Aggies fans may need to go spend some time in nature right now. Turn off exactly what you said. Turn off the phones. I don't want anybody to unfollow me. Don't mute me. I won't be mean-spirited about it. I will, by rule of my job, have to talk about the NCAA tournament. But yes, Aggie fans need some zen. They need some Milliken Reserve. They need some nature. Go feed the ducks. I'll say this in a serious note. It's disappointing. I mean, I try to watch as much as I can. I know what the expectations were coming in, and there's no way to put it. I mean, I said it last week. I don't think you can say they're the most disappointing team in college basketball because you have a team like Arkansas, which was high atop the ACC rankings in the preseason as well. But I do think Texas A&M is very quickly creeping in the short conversation of most disappointing teams, and it's been tough to watch. And I know it's even worse for you guys. So I don't want you to mute me, but I do understand, David. I do understand.
I am actually kidding. I'm not going to mute you. I'm not on social media enough. That being said, I'm actually going to not argue with you. I'm going to give you a different way to look at it. Okay. Arkansas has been bad all year.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
A&M had their most convincing win 5 games ago, right? They destroyed Tennessee.
Sure.
Right? And we were chanting overrated at Reed Arena. And, yes, we had some losses earlier, and the team was kind of like treading water at times offensively, but they were winning some big games. They're not winning anything right now.
Right.
They've lost 5 straight. Like to be firmly in the tournament in the middle of February, to be firmly out within a couple of, just 2 weeks is ridiculous.
Well, it is. And, I think, listen, so there's 2 different types of disappointing. There's disappointing in that, hey, we were picked to finish second, and this isn't what A&M is, but picked to finish second. We're not quite as good as we thought we were, but you know what? Darn it, this season isn't a total waste. Like, there are teams that I can't think of a good example, but maybe you just don't win those really big games that you want to win, but, you finish again, 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever. It's a little bit disappointing relative to preseason expectations. But at the end of the day, you're still in the tournament. Once you get there, maybe you make a run. But then there's the other disappointing where you're just losing to teams that you're better than. Vanderbilt, obviously a sweep of Arkansas. I'll say this. Listen, I think, Lamont Paris at South Carolina is probably the SEC Coach of the Year. But player for player, they're not more talented than Texas A&M. And so even last night, it's disappointing, even though one team is playing better than the other, because that's a team that you're obviously capable of beating. You have the ball with the chance to potentially, whatever, late in the game. And so I just bring it up because I think that's the most disappointing part. If you're just a few games off the pace of what you expected, but you're beating the teams you're supposed to, that's fine. But when you're losing a Vanderbilt in a year where people are talking about Jerry Stackhouse out after the year, when you're losing to when you're getting swept by Arkansas in what is just an insanely disappointing season for them, I think that is where the frustration is rightfully boiling over for Aggie fans.
I'll give you one more. The offense is bad. It's real bad. It's broken.
Yep.
And Wade Taylor, who I love, preseason SEC Player of the Year, last 5 games, I think he's averaging like 13 points a game, like 6 points below his average when they need him most. And I'm not putting the pressure on him, although he needs to be better. It's the whole thing. Like, his game is predicated on others opening up as well.
Sure. No, and that's, like you said, you don't want to place it all on one guy, but I think that's like the most befuddling part of A&M is, I'm trying to think across the rest of the league. There are like transfers that aren't living up to expectations. there are veteran players that have kind of plateaued and they kind of are who they are. Vescovi at Tennessee, he's kind of who he is the last 3 or 4 years. But like Wade Taylor, and this isn't like I'm not trying to tear him a new one. I know it's not fun for him or his teammates or his coaching staff, but he's regressed. And I think that's the crazy part is it's one thing when you come back and you're high profile and you don't really make that big leap. And of course, sometimes that's just you're an older college basketball player. You're in Wade Taylor's case, obviously your 3rd year. But sometimes you get these guys, they're 3rd or 4th year, and they just kind of have plateaued in who they are. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it's not that he's plateaued. He's actually literally regressed. And again, I think it speaks to David, the frustrating part of the year is maybe because you talk about it every day, you can pinpoint 1 or 2 things. But to me, as an outsider, it doesn't feel like it's 1 or 2 things. It feels like players are getting worse. There have been injuries. There have been suspensions. There has been off-the-court stuff. There has been on-the-court stuff. The team doesn't seem to be as vibing as well as they have in the past. Oh, by the way, there's just some bad luck. Wade Taylor slipping late in the game when he has a chance to potentially win it last night. So it's not like, there are plenty of other teams, right? Kentucky, if we could just tighten up the defense a little bit, we have a chance to be pretty good. Tennessee, we found that guy that can finally put the ball in the basket. It takes our team to another level. With Texas A&M, and again, you're the guy who covers it on a day-to-day basis. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think even at this point with 2 weeks left that it's one thing that you say, okay, if we can just flip this over the next week, we can get hot at the SEC tournament and make a run. That thing exists for Texas A&M.
I got 2 responses to that. I don't know if Wade has regressed per se. Obviously, the numbers of the last 5 games have been horrible, or for his standards, right? I think teams have figured out how to cover Texas A&M, and all they have to do is put all their attention on Wade or Boots because they know they can't hit a 3. So there is something that I think if they could hit their threes, like they're hitting. What was it, Caitlin? 11% yesterday, 12% from 3-point line. They were 11. Okay, 2 of 17 from the 3. They shot 30 the other day and barely made any. Like if you can hit some threes, it opens up Wade. I don't think it's not the magic pill. But if they can hit some open shots, which they can't, think about how many games that they have lost in the last couple plays, and they're hitting no 3-pointers. So I think if you could hit some open shots, if they're not, but if they could, I think it opens everything looks better.
No doubt. And what's interesting, you mentioned all the close losses. I think about the close wins. I mean, what is 15-13? With an overtime win over Kentucky and a 1-point win over Florida, that both those games I watched pretty closely. They could have gone the other way. So there's no doubt it's frustrating. But, yeah, I think that's a great point by you, David. Maybe that is the simple math equation to it of, hey, it's not perfect, but if we could just hit, we don't have to be a 42% three-point shooting team. If we could just hit 30%, we probably win the vast majority of these games. And by the way, maybe that's the answer. One thing I always say about myself in football and basketball, I don't claim to be X's and O's expert guy. I don't know what could be done to maybe whatever. I don't know what could be done to better position guys to hit open threes or if they're just missing open threes or whatever. But that is an interesting point is if you're shooting 2 of 17 from 3, doesn't matter how good your team is or how good any position is, you're still going to struggle with.
Hey, Aaron, I want to move on, but let me just read this stat for you. Against Tennessee, the game that they won, 85-69, they hit 11 of 28 threes, right? So they almost hit 40% of their threes in that game. The game that they just lost by 100 million points, I feel like it was, they didn't hit any threes. So that just tells you a little bit about how that game went.
Well, and I remember the Kentucky game, too. I seem to remember, because, A&M scored like 101 points or something like that. And I seem to remember, and of course I follow a lot of Kentucky media as well, so they were, of course, whining of like, oh, A&M shoots this percent, but of course they shoot that percent against Kentucky. So that's not to take down Texas A&M or discredit the win. I think it's the opposite. It kind of proves your point. It validates your point of like, if this team could somehow over the final 3 regular season games, 5 games of the season, or, final couple games of the season, start hitting threes, that maybe that would be the elixir. Although obviously it goes without saying, and I know everybody listening knows this, is that if it could be done, it obviously would have been done already.
I'm going to read you this number. So, obviously the NFL Combine starting today, the
Sure.
competition portion of it, I should say. The Athletic has something on Caleb Williams that said that he made over $10 million his final 2 seasons at USC thanks to NIL. That just makes me think, we've heard it before for these tweener players that should go into the NFL or not go into the NFL. But if you are a potential number 1 pick in the draft and you don't want to go to that team, I'm not saying you're making NFL money, but $10 million for 2 years as a college football quarterback, goodness, you can actually you're set. You can be set. You're going to make more, obviously, when you are the number 1 pick. But if you don't like the places that you're going to, it certainly gives you the opportunity to be like, you know what? I'll take another year of college and enjoy that for a little bit.
Well, so it's really funny you bring this up. So 2 things on that. One, as somebody who lives in L.A., it was funny because I remember I was on USC's campus probably in April or May of last year doing something, talking to some people, and they threw around a number that they guessed of about $4 million that he was probably clearing. And I don't think it's out of school to speak about this, but listen, he has his Caleb Williams Foundation. They're doing events all over LA over the last 2 years since he's been here. I mean, Caleb Williams isn't calling the Parks and Recs, area to reserve a football field. Okay, I can say this almost certainly. He had employees working for his foundation while he was still a college quarterback. So we can dislike or like the NIL era, but this wasn't, hey, here's $250 to eat pizza and sign a few autographs. This was a corporation. I think, from the business perspective, his dad did well. But David, why I think that topic specifically is interesting, I got into a little bit of an argument last night or yesterday with Kentucky fans. Reed Shepherd, the Kentucky kid, dad played for the team, won multiple national championships. He hits the buzzer beater at Mississippi State on Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, he announces yet another local NIL deal. And I think it's his 4th or 5th or 6th, or at least publicly, it's easily his 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever. And so I just put it out there. I was like, at some point, there's going to be some math that says he can probably make as much as a college basketball player next year as he will as an NBA rookie if he isn't going to be a top 5 pick, which he won't be. And ironically, it was Kentucky fans that got mad, like, Torres, you don't understand how it works. And I'm like, no, I actually understand exactly how it works. Is that I understand that whether it's college, whether it's football or basketball, the second contract is really the one where you make your money. But you also want to be in position to make sure that you have success when you get to the league, especially in basketball. It's not like football where you have to wait 3 years. In basketball, if you leave too early, you can wash out of the league entirely by 21, 22 years old. So I only bring it up, David, because I think there's going to be a lot of these interesting conversations. Obviously, you mentioned the NFL Draft Combine. I think Dan Wetzel put it out that we have the fewest number of early entries into the NFL that we've had in 10 or 12 years, and it's a direct correlation of if you're whoever, a third-round pick from Ohio State or Texas A&M, there's a realistic chance you can probably make more money playing college football next year than you can as a pro. So that was a long-winded answer. I took it 3 or 4 directions, but I think these are going to be more complicated and more interesting questions going forward for everyone other than those elite talents. And I think it's going to be obviously a benefit to college football and college basketball going forward as well.
AT, great stuff, brother. Thank you so much for the time.
No problem. Thank you, David. Have a great morning.
You too, buddy.
You too, buddy.
Aaron Torres here on the hotline. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, I want Nick and Caitlin to kind of chime in on the story that I'm going to read. It's about Tyreek Hill. Don't Google it. Wait, well, listeners, you can do whatever you want. But you two don't. I want you to hear it live next on TexAgs Radio. We are here on TexAgs Radio, obviously. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. So I knew when I said don't Google it, somebody would. Nick, you didn't Google it, did you?
I did not.
Kaylin, I know you did because you told me.
I did.
But you already knew the story.
I did see it last night.
I think I've seen bits and pieces, but I have not read up on this.
Well, I'm going to read you a little bit.
Be.
All right, Tyreek Hill is in the news often. He's being sued for allegedly breaking a woman's leg playing football. So this lady, Sophie Hall, I'm reading this from Larry Brown Sports, by the way, in Broward County, signed up her kid for a 10-year-old camp. And the day after she registered, guess who slides into her DMs? That would be?
Mr. Hill.
Yep, Tyreek Hill. And he was so nice, he was like, you know what? I'm going to fly out to my mansion in Florida. Okay?
As people do.
Yeah, I mean.
Normal behavior.
Who doesn't, right? And then Hill told her, since he was 6'1", and that she was 6'1", she should train with him. So she was out there watching him train. He invited her over, and they started playing drills. And apparently, she embarrassed him because she was so good and so athletic. This part I don't believe. So he got so mad, he hit her on one of these plays, and she suffered a leg injury that was later determined to be a fracture where she had to have surgery. And I think there was a metal plate involved in it. And she is now she's seeking, you know how much money?
Multi-millions, I'm sure.
Well, just guess the number.
I'm going to go 20 million.
20 million.
Just
that's
wild.
A high number. Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Torn, do you know how much?
I don't know the answer, but I'm gonna guess 15 million.
15 and 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, the influencer, because she's an Instagram influencer. Of course. Aren't we all? $75 million in damages.
Nice.
Yep. Civil lawsuit filed on charges of battery, assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligence.
She wanted the smoke. I'm just kidding.
Interesting way of phrasing that.
Just kidding. Joke.
I'm kidding too. Here's my thing. I shouldn't. I'm not going to judge. I don't think it's a smart idea to fly across the country. I don't know where she's from, so maybe she across towns, across the country, to a guy you don't know who is going to be coaching your kid at a camp, unless you want to, I don't know. I don't know how how does that work? She signs up for a camp. He's like, oh, this looks like an interesting name. Let me Google what she looks like. There must have been something before that, right? We can't believe.
Yeah, there had to be a connection.
She might have, I don't know. Did she slide into his DMs like, hey, by the way, my son's going to be in your camp? Oh, really? Why don't you come hang?
Something sus, for sure.
Something sus. Yeah.
Do you know what sus means, David?
Suspicious.
Yeah, there you go.
How old do you think
You're
I am?
with it. I'm not. I just played this game with Nick.
I know.
don't
You
wanna
hurt his
play again.
feelings. You told him he looked 26, and he's almost 25. That must have really hurt.
David, this is like if I were to say to Jocko Willink, your good friend.
My good friend
that I
Jocko
can
Willink.
roll with him, and he breaks my leg or something, and I sue him. Not,
Different, Nick, because
he didn't slide into my DMs. Yeah.
If
okay.
Jocko slides into your
fair
DMs,
enough. Fair
he's
enough.
like, I want to teach you something. I want to teach you about the military and why you're. Okay, never mind. When we come back, another topic that people love to talk about, Aggie basketball. We'll be back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Before we bring on Logan, I just want to bring the panel in this conversation. Nick, pipe in here. Wixon Ag sent this text in. Why do we act like Cliff Kingsbury's our guy? He was here 1 year, and he didn't enjoy it. I don't know if he didn't enjoy it. I think he considered staying, but he had a great opportunity at Texas Tech. I'm going to give you my whys. It was one of the most successful years that I've seen at A&M, right? That's part of the reason. He was not, if not the architect, one of the parts of that. He's a likable personality. Billy's friends with him. If you say that he was only here 1 year, so is Dexter Dennis. Is he allowed to be our guy? Because I like Dexter, right? I don't think the 1 year. There's Michael Dallas. He's my guy. And Nick, you pointed out something at the break. That's
kind of your when you say
my guy,
he's your guy with a grain of salt, right? Like your guy, Jocko Willing, going back to him,
right?
So,
he technically is my guy.
Yeah, he's your good friend.
But sometimes when I know there's not a friendship, I say that's your guy, right?
Yeah.
Like when it's an enemy, your guy. Olin and whoever his enemy may be that day, or Billy and his enemy. So here's definitely my guy, though, not my enemy. Logan Lee here on the hotline to talk about everybody's favorite topic, A&M basketball. Logan, good morning, buddy.
Oh, good morning, Nuño. How you doing?
When I think about baseball, I'm doing well. When I think about my kids, I'm doing well, other than them not doing the dishes last night. Other than that, but when I think about basketball, not so well.
Man, I thought AT&T was my favorite provider, and I thought they were saving me last week when they didn't allow me to call in because of their quote unquote cyber attack or whatever it was on the carriers. But I just realized they were just prolonging the inevitable, and now we still have to talk about more losses.
Well, buddy, when I think about this, are they the most disappointing team on campus? And considering football was pretty disappointing.
I'd say, yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got a team that was picked 15th in the started the year 15th in the country, was picked, I believe, second in the SEC, has a preseason All-American, preseason SEC Player of the Year. Buzz has seemingly had some things rolling, and this was one of the few years of his 5-year tenure here that he's had returners back and didn't have to necessarily rely on all portal transfer guys and high school kids, and now they're struggling to make the tournament.
They're at this point, the tournament's not even they can win out and win the SEC tournament, sure, but it just feels like it's, I don't know. Can they? Sure, I guess. Mississippi State winning last night probably doesn't help. But all that being said, yesterday's loss in a vacuum, losing to a top 20 team on the last play of the game, doesn't sound terrible. But it sounds terrible how often that happens, and it sounds terrible during a 5-game losing streak.
I think the reason that it's terrible is because they played so poorly and still had a chance to win against a top 20 team. That goes to show where they should be at as opposed to where they actually are at. I mean, this is a team that they were down by 13, go on a 17-2 run, take the lead, fight tooth and nail, back and forth the last 2 minutes of the game, and then give up a layup to lose. And they shot 11%. Let's round it up and be positive. They shot 12% from the 3-point line. And they shot less than 40% from 2. They didn't play their game. I mean, they only forced South Carolina, and I use the word forced loosely because it's turnovers, into 9 turnovers. They only got 3 steals. They barely won the rebounding battle, which is where they've been dominating people. And then you go and you follow it up with a 12% 3-point shooting night and 38.6% from the field. And if they can make 20% from the 3-point line, they win the game. If they grab 4 extra rebounds, a defensive rebound on second to last possession seals the game. And maybe not seals the game, but puts it in better position. And those are the things that you look at this team and they have been known for under Buzz Williams. They've been known for mental toughness, which I don't think they're mentally tough this year. They've been known for suffocating defense, and I don't think that they've had suffocating defense this year. They've never been able to really shoot lights out from the field, but it's been sufficient enough in a combination with the defense that they play to win ball games and to win a lot of ball games. And this year, they're not mentally tough. Their defense isn't great, and their shooting is subpar. And I don't get it. It's just baffling to me, and maybe that's where the disappointment comes in. Is that I feel like they have not all the pieces necessary, but they have good pieces, and those pieces just aren't being put together and playing well at the same time.
Logan, you
Which
mentioned
at this point in the year, normally Buzz has them rolling. It's a different year this year.
Logan, you mentioned how bad they played at times and still had a chance to win the game. You know who that reminds me of?
Who's that?
A&M football the last 2 years. I'm like, just saying, like, how many times did we see a game? And man, if we just make that play, they win. You know, like, but they didn't. They didn't make that play. Here's one thing that you played the game. I keep asking experts, and I consider you an expert here. I am a dummy. I just look at things and I analyze what I see. They didn't take 33s yesterday, right? I don't like when they do that. I think the number 16, 17, whatever it was, 17 is probably an okay number if you hit some. But they don't hit threes, Logan. So, like, what do you do when you shoot 12% from three? Do you keep shooting threes, or do you find I don't know. Like, you're the expert. Help me out here.
Well, normally I would say no, because normally I would say you rely on your big man in the middle, and you throw the ball inside and you play an inside-out game. But they don't have an inside-out game. They have zero players that have any type of back-to-the-basket presence on the block, and that's what's killing them right now. Is because when they don't have that, people don't have to. The defense doesn't have to sink in. They don't have to help off. They don't have to suffocate the paint. They can play out on the perimeter and not be worried about it. And they obviously all teams have scouted the ball screen motion that A&M uses. It's the same motion, whether it's on the wing at the top of the key, whether it's a horns action. It's the same. There have been no wrinkles, and it's just read and react. And the defense is forcing the offense to react to how it's playing instead of the offense putting pressure on the defense, throwing extra wrinkles in there to make the defense guess. And, if you throw a wrinkle in there, the second play of the game, the third play of the game, well, then the sixth play of the game, you don't have to worry about the defense pressuring you at 36 feet away from the basket because they're hesitant. Their head's on a swivel trying to look, okay, what's going to happen? Where's it coming from? The defense knows exactly what's happening, and it's allowing the pressure to be placed on the ball handler 35 feet away from the basket, not even getting into position where they can score.
Talking to Logan Lee here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, so this stretch that Wade's on, I love Wade. I do. I hate that I qualify because I love this team. I mean, I feel very close to these players just from what we've watched them do these 3 seasons, right? But he's struggling right now. How much of it is on Wade? How much of it is on the fact that teams have figured out A&M can't score unless Wade carries them to the basket or Boots does?
I mean, I think it's solely on the fact that there's nobody else to help him. I mean, outside of Boots, there's nobody else. I mean, look at Jace Carter, who played 25 minutes and scored 4 points. Anderson Garcia had a great game with his rebounding, with his effort and his intensity. So I'll never falter him for his production because, grabbing 12 rebounds, and I believe maybe 4 or 5 were offensive, maybe 6 of them, maybe 50% of his rebounds were offensive rebounds. That's you can't blame him. I mean, Manny had a heck of a game this game. I believe he played a little less than 20 minutes and had double figure scoring. Hayden Hefner, no points. Where was Henry Coleman? I don't know. It's a mixture of not having the personnel to surrounding Wade and Tyrese to get them in position, which is on the staff. Not figuring out who to bring in the off season. But actually, you look at. I was really excited about Jace Carter coming in and knocking down threes. I was really excited about Eli Lawrence coming in and be able to create his own shot and being a slasher to the basket and finishing above the rim because he has that type of athleticism. The growth of Manny, I figured, hey, that kid, he's going to take off at some point. He's going to be a good player. He might just not be a good player for A&M. Solomon Washington, he's grown a little, but not as much as we needed. And the loss of Julius Marble, I mean, they're just the pieces around him aren't there. They're just and maybe they're there, they're just not performing.
Look, it's very easy to armchair quarterback things when they don't go the right way, right? That's the nature of sports radio,
Absolutely.
Twitter. So after the Arkansas game, I didn't love the timeout that they took on the last possession. And didn't have like a real defensive play. I heard from real basketball minds said, I think Tom Schuber said, you call a timeout there to set up your defense. Absolutely. So I don't love that timeout. Yesterday, they didn't call a timeout, and people were complaining. So I'm not here to say which way is right, which way is wrong. What do you think about that final stretch?
I was okay with the non-timeout because it was so helter-skelter and they were so scattered. And normally you rely on your defense, like A&M. That's what they do. Obviously, they don't shoot well, so they the reason that they're in games is usually because of their defense. And defense is just react and recover, and they didn't do either one of those. And that's, you take your chances there. I thought it was okay because there was very little time left. It happened so quick. I mean, South Carolina got the ball out of the basket in a hurry. Like they were down and they were ready to go. I don't know if A&M had time to even try to call a timeout because heck, I don't think the officials would have given it to them because South Carolina got the ball out so quick. It's one of those coaches things. As a coach, you make a decision, and he went with that decision, and I was okay with that decision. What I'm not okay with is the numerous times before that South Carolina was just able to easily get a bucket. The last play is the last play. It's going to happen one way or the other, and you got to rely on your team. And Buzz relied on his team, and they faltered.
Talking to Logan Lee here. Tell me if you agree with this. I think their best offense is when they attack the rim. That sounds simple, but when they attack the rim super early in the shot clock, especially against a team like South Carolina. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. In no matter who they're playing, and the reason being is because at the end of the shot clock, everybody knows you have to get a shot up. You can't pass out. If you're getting to the paint and there's 2 or 3 seconds left, most of the time you're going to take a shot. Now, and I say that because A&M doesn't have a true point guard. I think I've been pretty critical about not having a true point guard and Wade just firing up shots, but the last few games, Wade has done a really good job of distributing the ball at the right time to the right place, and so I want to give him credit for that. He's been trying to do that, and you can see that effort that he's been trying to do. But for the most part, teams know if A&M is getting the ball in the paint, they're not necessarily kicking it out. They're trying to get a shot up, and the reason they're trying to get a shot up is because they're trying to go after the offensive board with Anderson and Solo and Manny and Henry Coleman. So they know, hey, it may be a bad shot, but they're getting it on the rim because they're going after offensive rebounds. Well, if that happens early in the shot clock, your kick out is a lot easier to make knowing that, hey, we can go set it up again and run it back and try to drive off the ball screen again. Late in the clock, everybody knows what's happening. They know what's coming, and it's predictable. So if you attack early in the shot clock, especially with the lack of offensive sets that we've seen this year, it's just a lot. It's just a lot easier to predict when you're late in the shot clock versus 20 seconds.
Logan, something came across my my page here, and I'm going to read it to you on the TexAgs board, on the premium board. Science denier. Texas A&M is third in the SEC at taking 3-point shots. Alabama's number 1. They're good at it, 30.3 shots per game. Tennessee second, 24.5 3-point shots per game, and Texas A&M third, 24.2. I say that without I just say that, and how you respond however you feel is right.
I'm okay with them taking. I think a good shot selection from the 3-point line would be between 18 and 20 for them. One, just because they don't make a ton of them. I think they are. Man, I don't even know where they are in the country in regards to percentage. I think they've dropped to below 300 or above 300, however you want to look at it that way. They're 350 something team or 360 something teams, and I think they're like 320 or 330, somewhere around that in 3-point field goal percentage. So 24 is too much, but at the same time, I go back to what we were talking about. There's no inside-out game, and so where's it coming from? Where else are they going to score from? Because if you look at it and you're taking 24 shots from the 3-point line a game, but they're taking 60 shots each game, I mean that's a third of their shots, and that's not horrible. I mean that's not a horrible ratio. They're on point. They just need to make more of them, and they need to make more. They need to make more twos. They need to make more threes, or get fouled. Go to the free throw line. You know, in some games last night, I believe they were close to 90% from the free throw line.
Yep.
Manny shot a perfect game from the line, which is great for him. And I believe Boots shot a perfect game from the line. A&M did well from the line. Go create some contact and get some easy buckets if that's the case.
Logan, how different do you think this team is going to look? Because, and I'm not saying speculate portal. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like personnel-wise. What do you think Buzz is going to have to do or is going to be willing to do when it comes to adding certain types of size, shooters, et cetera?
I mean, he's got to flip the roster. How many people is he losing? He's losing Radford. I believe. Is this Henry's last year, or does he have one more?
I believe he has one more.
Who knows what Wade's going to do? I would assume that. Is this Anderson last year? All these COVID years.
I think Anderson's got one more year too. So I think the only for sure guy, there might be a senior graduating, but I think the only for sure guy is Boots, who's out of eligibility.
I mean, he's got to go in. He's got to find somebody who can score, somebody who can knock it down. I do think Jace Carter will be good next year for A&M. He'll be all right. I think he'll be a little more comfortable. You've seen him grow as the season has come along. I don't know what Manny. He's a great kid. He's awesome. But I don't know if he transfers because he just hasn't had the production. I know they don't necessarily want him to transfer. But I could see him leaving. I could see Hefner staying or leaving. I mean, I could see.
I think my question was more about trying to identify what kind of players that they need to get, and I think you basically are saying they need somebody else who can score.
They need everybody. They need someone who can score. Then they need a big man. I mean, depending on who stays and who leaves, they need everything. They need a point guard. They need a shooter. They need big. I take that back. If they get a point guard and and Wade is here, Wade's the shooter, and he'll fire it up and he'll make some shots. He would benefit greatly from a lead guard that can just get him in position where he doesn't have to do it all for this team, because right now he has to do it all for this team. You get him a point guard, you get him a big, and all of a sudden you're right back in the mix of the upper third of the SEC.
Logan, hopefully next week
Now,
we have some. Go ahead.
Now the upper third of the SEC is going to be tough though, because the upper third is now going to include Texas and Oklahoma in there, and those are the big dogs of the Big 12 to go along with Kansas, and well, all of the Big 12 is good. So
Logan,
SEC definitely gets harder next year.
Appreciate you. I hope next week we have a little bit more fun to talk about.
Yeah, man. They it's not done yet. I know everybody, it feels like it is, but I'm one of those guys that just maintains hope until the fat lady is sung, and the fat lady's not singing just yet. She's off her chair, but she's
warming
not
up
singing just yet.
She's warming up.
She is warming up, but she's not out there performing.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Talk to you next week.
All right, man.
Later.
You have a good one.
Logan Lee, they're on the hotline. All right, let's hit a break. We're going to come back with Leap Day stuff. Yay. I said that. I don't know why I said it like that. I apologize. I'm excited about Leap Day stuff. But right now, how about this? Caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggieland Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership. We're going to give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggieland Express in South College Station. That phone number is 979-693-1150. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to get to some text messages and also leap year stuff, or leap day, whatever it's called. So we got an email that came in. The Southeastern Conference, that's the conference that A&M plays for. I don't know if you guys knew that. Is going to have their SEC Media Days schedule. It's already ready to roll. It'll be in Dallas this year at the Omni Hotel, July 15th through the 18th. And it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. TexAgs is going to try to own that event. I'm going to tell you the rundown of how it's going to go. I'll start off with A&M. They're going to go on the last day. The last day is going to be Thursday, July 18th. You've got Sam Pittman on that day. You've got Hugh Freeze on that day. You've got Mark Stoops. What a day to have him. And Mike Elko. That's going to be the last day. So if your brain can handle it, let's go to the beginning.
And that's not an order, by the way. That's just the days they're going to be speaking. So he might not be the very last coach to go, but he might.
He might, right. On Monday, July the 15th, BK, followed by on this list, LK, Shane Beamer, Clark Lee. Okay? It's a good day. Tuesday, July 16th, Kirby Smart. We've got Drinkowitz. We've got Venables. We've got Josh Heupel. Okay? Day 3, Wednesday, Kalen DeBoer, new to the SEC. Billy Napier on his way out. Jeff Levy, new to Mississippi State. Steve Sarkisian, new to the SEC. So there you go. That's going to be your list right there. Caitlin Torn is hanging out at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. And where are we going to be on Saturday? You're not going to be there, but I'm going to be there. Where am I going to be?
You're going to be at the Angry Elephant.
In what city? See if you remember.
Dallas?
It's in the Metroplex.
Brian?
In
the Metroplex of College Station?
No, the Metroplex is the DFW area.
Oh, Fort Worth?
No. Little? Yes?
I don't think I'm going to get it.
Little Elm.
Little Elm. Oh,
Little Elm.
I was not going to get that.
Which is 6 miles from Frisco. There you go.
Oh, close.
So we're looking forward to that. Q&A, 5 to 7. Billy, myself. It'll be fun. Hopefully, why am I hitting the table? It'll be fun. Hopefully, you all can hang out. You've got some Leap Day sports history for us that Alex Frugoni put together.
Yep. Happy Leap Day. Kind of a holiday, I guess.
Is it?
You could call it that. It only happens every once in a while. So it's a holiday, I think.
Holiday-ish. All right.
Holiday-ish.
Give us. You don't have to give us every one, but just give us a few of the big ones.
We've got 1972, Hank Aaron signs a 3-year, $600,000 contract to be the highest paid at that time MLB player of history.
Hammer and Hank Aaron. Yeah, that's think about that. It's a long time ago, right? 50 years, 50 couple years ago, 52 years ago, and that was a really good contract back then, which was good. It would be great money right now, by the way, right? But I'm just saying, like, that's baseball has now got obviously $40 million contracts. Continue on.
In 1992, Ole Miss women's basketball team beat Vanderbilt for their first ever SEC title.
Okay. All right. This 1996 one was an interesting one.
Yeah, 96, Wayne Gretzky scores goal in his debut outing with the Blues.
Okay, so he was with the St. Louis Blues that year and scored in his first one here. This 1996 one, I was not around. I mean, I was on this earth, but I was not working for the Mavs at the time. I don't remember this, but you want to read this one?
Yeah, also in 96, Mavs set the then NBA record for most three-pointers in a game and in a half, with 18 total and 12 in one half.
This one in 1996, I remember when this all went down so well. It was such a horrible time in I think in NBA history, even though I had to deal with the GOAT's father. You want to read that one?
Also in 96, Daniel Green was convicted of murder for James Jordan, the father of Michael Jordan, back in 93.
Yeah, which, I know there's conspiracy theories of why Michael Jordan left the NBA for those couple years, but his father's death certainly played a role in that.
I actually just watched an ESPN 30 for 30 about how, Michael went to play baseball for a season after that happened. So I didn't know that happened on a leap day. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. He went, I think it was a season and a half that he played with the Birmingham Barons, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Let's do the Kobe and Shaq one.
Skipping to 2000, the Lakers beat the Blazers 90-87 in a matchup where both teams were on 11-game win streaks. Kobe and Shaq dropped a combined 45 points in that game on Leap Day in 2000.
And let's close out with the last one, which is always going to make our audience super happy to hear about the world's game of football. better known as soccer here in this country.
And in 2012, first one in my lifetime, Clint Dempsey scores only goal in the 1-0 victory over Italy to secure the first win over the Italians in 78 years.
I remember where I was. That was a cool game. And I wasn't really big into soccer at that point. Good stuff there. Thank you very much, Caitlin. All right. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, the world's favorite show. It is called The Fan Show. It is presented by Girard Construction. Those knuckleheads and more next on TexAgs. Here we go. What'd you say?
Nothing.
Okay. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio. Where's the beef, ladies and gentlemen? It's time for the Fan Show, presented by Girard Construction, custom home builders for the Brazos Valley since 2002. They don't just build homes, you know that?
We build relationships.
Oh, you're part of the team?
Yes, I am. I own the joint.
Then you can help me out. You can learn more where?
At Girard-construction.com.
Kelly Adams, where you been, buddy? You got a job?
Working. Yeah.
He's been out building relationships.
Yeah, that's right.
Matt Browning? I know where you've been the last couple Thursdays.
I'm here, man.
You're here, buddy.
I'm here. I'm dedicated to this show.
Yeah,
I want this show to be the best, not just, and I don't want us to just be thought of as Billy and David's buddies. You know, we're actually fans.
We have become buddies.
We've become buddies from being
I'm
on
friends
here.
with David. I
didn't
think
know
I've
you
only met
before.
Billy twice.
I met you before I met Billy.
Yep. And
that's true.
and you were on the show.
I've been on the show like 7 years, and I've met Billy once.
Never met you before.
No, I've met him twice. That's more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny what people seem to think.
Well, that's Matt Browning. He's Kelly Adams. By the way, there's tryouts for the fan show. If you guys want to do it, we'll be doing.
We'd love to have more.
Sure.
I'm on with it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay. We've added some people here in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Royce Hickman came on. Like we've been adding people. All right. Sutton's been coming on more often. All right. Let's start off with Kelly, since you haven't been here in a year. I know you used to coach basketball, right?
I did for a long time.
Okay. So you're probably going to have a hot sports take that's going to upset the masses. So let's go straight there. What is on your mind?
I don't know if it's hot sports take. I know that, like, in my opinion, last night's game is just typical of who this team is. They're inconsistent, and they've got a little bad luck, and they just can't get it all going in the right direction at the same time. That's just who the team is. You know, should Buzz have called a timeout after the bucket? I heard you talking with Logan about that. That's totally, like, everybody's philosophy is different.
Yep.
When I was coaching in high school, you never call that timeout on defense.
I don't
never,
think you do.
ever call that timeout on defense because the clock's running. That guy scores with 8 seconds to play. It's going to take him 2 or 3 seconds just to get the ball out of bounds. Don't call that timeout. Let the clock run. But in college, the clock stops. I would have liked to have seen Buzz's guys get into that three-quarter court 1-2-2 kind of slow you down thing just to muck it up. Because in that short clock, there's not going to be too many passes. Muck it up. Keep the guy out of the lane. Ultimately, Logan talked about this, but he got the ball in quick. You can only do so much when they get the ball in as fast as they do, and as they did in that play. I thought our real problem was, if you look on the backside, you can see that Coleman and Boots Radford had really miscommunicated on what they were really doing. It looked like Coleman and Bradford were both standing on the elbow. They were both pointing at the same man. Why were they pointing at him? I don't know. Could have been, hey, you got him, or hey, he's the star player, don't let him catch it, or I don't know. They were both pointing at him. And then nobody, while they were pointing at him, Anderson helps because Taylor played bad defense, and Anderson's guy's wide open.
You really dissected that play.
That's what happened. Taylor played bad defense. Anderson helps. Anderson guy's wide open unless you drop. I would assume it's Coleman's drop because he's a post player, but that's not necessarily the truth. It could have been Boots. Somebody had to drop. Now, somebody's supposed to drop. Block out, cover the backside rebound, prevent the exact layup that we gave up. On the last play with the clock going off, I like the second play better than the first play, truthfully. The first play was fine. I've seen it. I've run that play. The second play, I just like that play better. Get your guy going in a straight line to the basket really fast, which is what we got. And then he tripped, which is kind of the way the season's gone. Yeah, like you can't affect that. You mentioned three-pointers when you were talking with Logan also. Travis Mays was a great player for TU, and I grew up in Austin, so I watched a lot of those games. And his philosophy was always the playmakers learn to make the shots that they want to get. So Taylor and Radford, they're making shots that they want to get. The guys who don't make plays, Hefner, Carter, Coleman, Anderson, Solomon Washington, they learn to make the shots that Taylor, Radford, and the defense give them. So that's on Hefner and those guys, Carter, all those guys, to make the shots they're getting. They're getting threes. They need to get in the gym and work on making those threes.
Yeah, but see, and Matt, you can chime in on this. They haven't been a good three-point shooting team since the Kennedy administration. Like they're just not like they're not a very like. I trust Wade shooting threes even though he's in a slump.
Who's teaching the shooting then? I know they got a shooting coach.
No, but if you're not good at it,
I
don't continue to do it.
The Deion Sanders approach.
And you
find
said,
guys that are better.
And you said we were third in the SEC in three-point
attempts.
And part of the reason is because we suck at it.
Yeah.
If we were better at it, we might shoot less because they would be guarding it.
Well, that's exactly why coaches want A&M to take those shots.
Yeah, like they want us to shoot those.
So what's on my mind is similar. Is that I'm not going to get near as into detail as into a play as I don't see all that. I'm just seeing the end result. It's like watching the puck in hockey. That's what I do. But
I do that too in hockey.
But yeah, what gets me is just before the game there was still just even though it was a shadow of it, there was still just a little hope that you could win this game. Win out, maybe get a high seeding, still make the tournament. I think that ship has now sailed.
Probably
5-game losing streak. There's no more real big wins left on the schedule, and it's unfortunate. You go from the absolute high where we were 2 weeks ago after beating Tennessee, drumming Tennessee here at home. It was an electric atmosphere. Everyone was fired up, and then to this. where you've lost 5 in a row since then. And what's funny is that what gets me about this team, which is weird, this is what bugs me about this team, is I look at this team and I'm like, there's some really good players on this team. There are some iconic players that we're going to remember for a long time. I mean, if you look at any generation of Aggie basketball, you go back to the AC Law, Dominic Kirk, Joseph Jones,
Josh Carter,
and Tanis Kavalauskas.
AK.
Loved AK, man. Then you got
Marlon Pompey.
Yeah, that's right. Then
Fouled out in the first half.
You go to the Crusoe, Daniel House, that crew, right? All of these generations. Logan Lee from that first one, by the way, great player.
Chris Walker.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah, he was the powerless forward.
Yeah.
But those generations, right? Any one of these guys could play. I mean, Wade would have been a star on any of these teams. Boots, you'd have taken a guy like Boots on any of these teams.
Yep.
You'd have taken an Anderson Garcia all day, every day, right? Coleman would have been a productive player. I mean, something about this team is weird to me, is that all these players are good, and I think they all get along. They seem to all like each other. They're out there killing themselves for each other, trying to win the game. You think we're disappointed? Did you see them after the game laying on the court?
I love those guys.
They're dejected. I love this team, but there's something that seems to me with this team that they're not a good mixture. Something about one guy versus, in the mixture of play and the lack of is still there too.
Let me throw this in. I think they have one way to score.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's taken away,
that's it.
They have no way to score.
Yeah.
I mean, and they scored enough points to win, by the way.
We've seen a bit of growth this year from Solomon Washington.
Yeah.
He made a 3 last night. The last couple of games, they've been feeding him with his back to the basket. Buzz said it in his press conference on Tuesday, I believe, when he was talking about how the best shot is still the inside out. And that's what you want. Now, who is our inside to get out? Well, there's only one way for us to get inside, and that's for Boots and Taylor to get there. With Marble, and you can't discount Marble enough right now in our problems, unfortunately.
No,
because we planned on having Marble, I think, until the season started.
You could have with Marble. You could have with Marble in there. You go high low with him and Coleman all day long. You got the bigs passing. That was a second option last year. That's an option that got completely taken off the table.
And Coleman's a great player, but he's not a shot creator. He's going to catch and dunk. He's going to catch in one dribble. He can catch and distribute. He's a great player. But he's not Marble, where Marble can catch with his back to the basket, and score or distribute. He's not Taylor and Radford. They can get in the lane and distribute. I love Coleman. Coleman's great for this team, but he is struggling mightily with the way the offense is currently set up.
Well, and Wade is struggling.
Yeah, Wade's struggling, and I think that Wade feels like he's got to do so much. I really do. I think that's what it is. I think if he had some of that stress and some of that was taken off his shoulders, he would play better.
He would.
I think that's across the board. I mean, look at, some of the greats. I mean, they need that extra help for them to finally be able to break through and become the great. And so it's unfortunate. And I will say, if there is a bright side, baseball.
Okay, well, let's go there for a minute.
I love it.
My favorite thing about baseball right now is the way they're dominating offensively and defensively.
Yes.
In the past, we play these terrible teams like Wagner. Wagner's not good at baseball right now.
No, we haven't played anybody yet, but it's been a blast to watch.
But we'll beat them 2-1 with no offense, or we'll beat them 9-7 with no pitching. No, we just beat them handily.
I mean, I know that they can't control that schedule. I mean, those players can't, but they have decimated their competition.
Every big team is taken on.
Well, that's what you do in
inferior
baseball.
opponents. Yeah.
And you're really doing Wagner a favor more than anything else. Wagner can't play a baseball game in New York right now. So we're doing Wagner a favor and us a favor, getting pitchers in, getting guys some at bats, those sort of things. But we're going to see a lot this weekend, I think. I know USC's struggling, but we're still going to see a lot.
I'm very excited about baseball, and I'm not going to temper my excitement because other sports have not lived up to what I expected them to be.
Well, that's Saturday.
That being said, I'm not going to, though. But that being said, the SEC is hard, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It might be harder in baseball than it is in football.
The SEC is more dominant in baseball than they are in football. in football, if you look at the top, we always got like football has 3 teams in the top 10. Well, yeah, and then we don't have anybody until like number 20. But in baseball, they got 7 teams in the top 10. I think 6 right now, maybe 7. And then they got 3 more, 10 to 20. Half the league is in the top 20.
Let's go through this. D1 baseball's top 25. Number 2, Arkansas. Number 3, LSU. Number 4, Florida. Number 7, Texas A&M. Number 8, Tennessee. Number 9, Vandy. That is your top 10.
And how many go from 11 to 20?
Let's continue that
There's
game.
2 or 3 in there, I think, if I remember right.
Texas is not there. Alabama is there. Let's see who else is there. I just see Alabama. I see South Carolina.
That's the one I was looking for.
Yeah, so 2 more.
That's half the league, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you've got six of the top 10 teams in the country are in the SEC, and we know that going into that. That's why we need this team.
Oh yeah.
But I will say, I'm just saying that. I mean, you look at the pitching. Yeah, I know that's been inferior competition. I get that.
But last year we didn't do it.
We didn't look. We
And the
did
year
not
before
look
that,
this
we didn't
good
do it.
early in the even
Right.
early last year.
Look, you're stepping up in weight class this weekend.
Mhm.
Obviously, Tuesday at Austin, stepping up in weight class. But look, there's going to be ups and downs, but hopefully a lot more ups.
Yes.
Let's hope this feels a lot more like Schloss's first year. And last year, by the way, that team was good.
It was good. It just the pitching.
They
was,
were a
was
victim of
difficult.
the previous year's success.
Yeah, and they didn't have the pitching last year that hopefully. it
Well, and our
appears
star
we may
pitcher
have-
this year didn't pitch last year because he had surgery.
A week ago, I think on this show, I asked, is Jace like the best athlete on campus? And when I say athlete, I'm not saying like Lamar Distant type of athlete.
Yeah,
I'm just
he's
saying
in
like
best player for their sport. Yeah.
I don't know, Lamar Distance might be, but
Yeah.
Jace is up there, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Bronny, maybe Bronny. Somebody on TexAgs radio said that we could have a top 5 pick each of the next 3 drafts, and they're all on the field. They're all on the field right now. I mean, that's a lot of talent.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break. I got some more stuff for you. The 30-minute
Okay.
show goes by fast, guys.
No, it does.
You
We
know.
talk about court storming.
We could do that. You want to start off with that?
Sure.
I mean, I feel like I've done it 2 days in a row and people got mad, but we'll do it a third time.
I have a decent opinion.
Okay, well, let's have a semi-decent opinion next on TexAgs Radio. We're back here on TexAgs Radio. It's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up, guess what? With your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. By the way, 20% of profits today go back to all YMCAs in both locations here in Bryan College Station. Boonville and Rock Prairie locations will be doing that. So make sure you do help out 20% of all that for a profit share with the YMCA. It is the Fan Show presented by Gerard Construction, and you got Kelly Adams, Matt Browning. You wanted to talk about the court storming, and Nick came in here and told us at the break, Kyle Filipowski. Did I say that correct?
Filipowski.
Is it Filipowski?
There's a couple extra I's in there.
Okay.
It's not Flip, but that's his nickname.
Filipowski. Kelly Kapowski's friend. He played yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was being a big whiny.
I'm a big Duke fan. Huge Duke fan. Coach K, Filipowski, all those guys. And in personal opinion, is Filipowski was being a big fat weenie. It wasn't near as bad as he made it out to be. He kind of brought a little bit of it onto himself.
I don't have a problem with him bringing it onto himself.
I don't have a problem with it either, but he made a scene out of something that really didn't need to be a scene the way it was. With that being said, but to me, the simplest thing to solve some of this court storming is they need to redo some of these arenas, admittedly. Like, if you look at Reed Arena, the visiting,
expensive.
Was it less expensive than, what was it, OB said, 50% of your revenue from the, whatever it was? But like
Build a wall! Sorry.
But at Reed Arena, you exit right off the end of the bench. What's it, 15 feet from the end of the bench to the exit?
Yeah.
More arenas need to be built like that. Because if we storm the court, it's not rocket science to create a solid secure area using security personnel around the bench and that 15 feet into the tunnel.
When was the last time we stormed the court? I remember we did it when
last year. Did we do it for Tennessee this year?
I don't know.
We stormed it last year for something.
Did we?
I think so. We
I
stormed
can't remember
it
the
a
last
few
time.
times.
The last time I remember us storming the court was the shot AC hit.
I know
Texas.
I think there's been one since then. By the way, I know I'm wrong. But I kind of look at, if you storm the court and you're in my personal space, it's like getting hit by a foul ball at a baseball game.
But the Burton thing with Alabama is different. that guy punched a girl. First of all.
That guy was wrong. And by the way, I think Kowski was wrong.
Oh.
But I get it. Like, if you're coming in my area and I see 500 students
that
running
guy
away.
is 6'11", 260 pounds. And he was like whining about some college student that weighs 120 pounds and is 5'4", pushing him. That guy got pushed the whole game. Why is he whining about that kid? But anyway, we bring college kids into the game for specifically to act crazy. Like, that's why they're there.
I like storming.
So to say you can act crazy, but you have to stop immediately when the buzzer sounds?
Just know that Nuño is MMA, and if you get near him during a court storming, you're probably going to get hurt.
No, here's the truth. Everybody can kick my butt.
Look at his nose. Have y'all zoomed in on this nose?
Thanks. Let's bring attention to my nose.
Elizabeth got him.
By the way, I just took off my ring as you said that. Luke over there says, we haven't stormed the court in 10 years.
Really?
Thank you, Luke.
I think you were getting confused.
What game was it?
Maybe. But in my opinion, it's not rocket science to get the kids off the end of the bench, into the locker, that 15 or 20 feet or whatever it is, into the hallway, into the locker room, out of the way. The 5 guys that are on the court, usually 2 or 3 of them are next to the bench at that point anyway, because the game has been decided. Rare is the occasion that a kid hits a shot from anywhere and it's the winner, and then the court storm, and that happens, but it's not as common as you think. Usually it's a 5 to 7 point win, and 2 or 3 of the kids that are on the court are by the bench anyway. You just usher them all out. You got 1 or 2 that have to kind of defend themselves to get to the bench, but
just get the cops like they do with the referees at games.
Yeah, you can do that too.
They're not going to go rush police, right? You just get each cop
that
around.
Makes you stupid.
If you've got 5 players on the floor, you have 5 cops, escort them out.
Yeah. I mean, there's easy ways to solve it, but to say stop court storming, that just ruins college sports.
Yeah, until somebody dies. Until somebody gets trampled. Yeah. Like it happened at that soccer game 50 years ago. But that was overpopulation or whatever for Liverpool, whatever. I'm showing my knowledge.
I thought the stands collapsed.
I think there was a little bit of both happening there, but they definitely let in too many people.
They definitely did that, yes.
Yeah, they just let the doors open.
And having been to an EPL match, Those things are bonkers, dude.
We just lost every listener. Thanks, guys.
Sorry.
Hey,
those things are nuts.
You lost me.
You're like, what? Go on.
I don't know what's going
If it's
on.
not, what's the show? Wrexham? You're out.
I'm out. I don't know. I don't pay attention to soccer.
Gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
David.
Matt Brown and Kelly Adams. Logan Lee, really good analysis there on the show. We had Aaron Torres, Schloss, Richard Zane. We had Stephen McGee. We had our buddy Olin Buchanan. Tomorrow on the show, Billy will be here. We'll have the baseball bunch with us. We'll have Mark French. And, of course, we will be responding to your text messages and your phone calls. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.